Chapter 1650. At this moment, by the side of the Hongmeng Lake, everyone was looking at the figure in the air. No one made a sound. This silence was perhaps the best praise for Long Chen. Long Chen did not want to interact with these people. After all, although Long Chen looked invincible, he was already seriously injured internally. Long Chen needed to quickly find a safe place to recuperate. As for the people by the side of the Hongmeng Lake, they were here for the rich Hongmeng aura. Long Chen did not want to interfere too much. As for the great array, he left it to others to explore. Long Yuan approached Long Chen with a worried look on his face. Long Chen smiled, indicating that he was fine. "We have to leave. I'm afraid we won't come back here again." Although Long Chen's internal injuries were very serious, he was still as calm as ever when he spoke. Although Long Yuan was worried, since Long Chen had already said such words, he did not say anything else. He simply replied, "I'll listen to Master." Long Chen nodded and turned to look at the other side of the Hongmeng Lake. That was the depths of the spiritual world ruins. Perhaps, there would be a better spiritual treasure than this Hongmeng Lake. After cultivating by the side of the Hongmeng Lake for 3 days, Long Chen's strength had improved. He already had the ability to contend with the experts of the Hongmeng Yuan Jie. This time, Long Chen would no longer be patient. Mu Wenhua, who had ended up like this, was the best example. Although the Hongmeng Lake was now filled with rich and pure Hongmeng aura, Long Chen would definitely be able to quickly advance to the Hongmeng Yuan Jie if he continued to cultivate here. Long Yuan's strength would also increase greatly. However, Long Chen understood that if he did not train too much, when he advanced to the Hongmeng Yuan Jie, the domain that he condensed would definitely not be strong. In this way, Long Chen's future cultivation would be greatly affected. This was something that Long Chen did not want to see. If Long Chen wanted to do something, he would do it to the best of his ability. Moreover, perhaps, in the depths of the spiritual world ruins, there would be a better place to cultivate than this Hongmeng Lake. After a short pause, Long Chen adjusted his aura. He leaped into the air and flew towards the depths of the spiritual world ruins. Long Yuan also followed closely behind. Along the way, they could vaguely see the remnants of the tribal ruins below. However, these tribal ruins were much more complete than the ones that Long Chen had seen before. Long Chen looked around and could not help but have many questions in his heart. Looking at the state of these tribal ruins, there must have been no less than a few thousand people living in this small spiritual world tens of thousands of years ago. Then, why did these few thousand people disappear in this small spiritual world? Moreover, how did these few thousand people enter the small spiritual world? During the Great Battle, it seemed like it was just a battle between the youth and the 10 major tribes. No matter how Long Chen thought about it, he still couldn't figure it out. As they hurried along, Long Chen recuperated his body and slightly eased his injuries. Now, Long Chen had a total of 3 jade rings in his hands. Presumably, in the future, if there was anything that required a jade ring to do in the spiritual world ruins, Long Chen would have the greatest authority. After flying for a while, in the Dragon Palace, Long Mu, who had fainted because of Long Chen's burning realm, finally woke up. Seeing that Long Chen was no longer around the Hongmeng Lake, Long Mu was naturally curious about what had happened before. "Long Chen, what did you do?" Long Chen's expression was as calm as an ancient well as he said, "I didn't do much. I merely used the price of 1 level to forcefully execute the Primordial Heavens technique and completely killed Mu Wenhua." "Burning realm?" Long Mu exclaimed. Long Chen nodded and said, "It's probably like this. I didn't know I could do this. If I want to blame someone, I can only blame the Hongmeng aura in the Hongmeng Lake for being too pure. It directly ignited the Hongmeng in my body. If I didn't do that at that time, I would have died. Using 1 realm to exchange for my life, no matter how you look at it, this is a good deal. You relied on your strong physique. If it was someone else, it is estimated that the moment the Hongmeng entered the body would have exploded and died." Long Mu knew the reason and could not help but smile bitterly. "By the way, I have to say that the Heavenly Dragon's secret skill is really mysterious. When combined with any other skill, it can produce a situation where the power of the two is greater than the sum of the two. Long Chen praised. Hearing this, Long Mu looked proud and said, "Of course, this is the skill that my father personally compiled according to the unique physique and endurance of the Hongmeng dragon tribe. How can it not be strong?" "So you're saying that you know a lot of cultivation methods?" Long Chen smirked. Long Mu nodded and said, "Indeed, I have remembered a lot during this period of time. However, they are not very suitable for you now. Those are the skills that are used in conjunction with the field domain. When you advance to the Hongmeng Yuan Jia, I will teach you all of them." Hearing this, Long Chen was naturally full of joy. "Then, what do you plan to do next?" Long Mu asked. "Of course, I will go deeper into the spiritual world relic. Since I am here, I have to figure out the king of the spiritual world relic and take away the remaining spiritual treasures and opportunities. Also, I will take a look and see if there's any news about the soul awakening grass in the spiritual world relic." Long Chen said slowly. Hearing the words soul awakening grass, Long Mu was a little touched. It was rare that Long Chen could still remember it. It was indeed worthy of them to go through thick and thin together for so long. If I am not wrong, there must be a central area in the spiritual world relic. There must be some conditions that can be met to control the entire spiritual world relic. After all, the spiritual world relic is a field domain. For example, the Hongmeng Lake that we saw before is very likely to be the dantian of the expert who left the spiritual world relic. After all, it is very difficult to naturally form such a Hongmeng Lake that is infused with Hongmeng Qi, Long Mu explained. Hearing this, Long Chen agreed and said, "If that is the case, then what is the strength of the expert who left the spiritual world relic?" Long Mu frowned and said, "At least the 9th level of Hongmeng Tianjing, or the legendary Hongmeng Tao ancestor. But if it is the Hongmeng Tao ancestor, there is no need for him to do these things. Therefore, it is very likely that he is an expert at the 9th level of Hongmeng Tianjing." Long Chen nodded and could not help but yearn for the scene of the spiritual world relic tens of thousands of years ago. What happened in the war tens of thousands of years ago? Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1651. Long Chen and Long Yuan flew all the way. Soon, they arrived at the central area of the spiritual realm remains. Regardless of whether they were on the ground or flying in the air, there were more and more people. It seemed that many people had come here during the 3 days when Long Chen was cultivating at the lake in Hongmeng. The people around were all in a state of excitement, as if they had found some opportunities and treasures. Long Chen heard a lot of news about the spiritual realm ruins during the flight. Some said that some people had already found spirit bodies whose souls had yet to dissipate in the spirit realm ruins, and had successfully obtained the inheritance of these spirit bodies, thus obtaining unexpected benefits overnight. In addition, some people were constantly spreading the news about the tribal ruins where humans gathered in the spiritual realm ruins. The most shocking thing was that in the spiritual realm ruins, there were people who had originally lived here. All kinds of news entered Long Chen's ears, and Long Chen suddenly lost his mind. He did not know where to start next. Everyone who came here knew very well what the inheritance represented. These spirits who had not yet dissipated must have cultivation methods and unimaginable cultivation techniques from tens of thousands of years ago. As long as they obtained the inheritance of the spirits, it was almost equivalent to finding a backer. Moreover, they could also use the memories of these spirits to excavate the treasures that belonged to the spiritual realm ruins and obtain greater opportunities. Flying all the way, Long Chen could gradually see more and more people, and the information he obtained became more and more complicated. However, in this complicated information, Long Chen still found out the news that he should pay attention to. Have you heard? 3 people were very lucky. They found 3 spirits from tens of thousands of years ago and successfully let these 3 spirits enter their bodies. Oh, then did they obtain the inheritance of the spirits? Now that you mention it, it's a bit of a joke. Although the 3 people who obtained the 3 spirit bodies allowed the spirit bodies to possess them, they still didn't wish to receive the inheritance of the spirit bodies. In other words, the strength of the three people was too weak to obtain the recognition of the spirit bodies. Damn, I've been looking for so long and haven't met a single one. Where did these three people come from? How could they be so lucky? These three people's background is not very eye-catching. I think it's called the Heavenly Dragon Tribe. The strength of these three people is also very weak. They are all at the consolidation realm in Hongmeng. Now, many people are relying on their strength to surround these three people, trying to force them to hand over the spirits in their bodies. Hongmeng Consolidation Realm? Ha, you can't blame others for this. They really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Hongmeng Consolidation Realm people dare to snatch this kind of opportunity. The person who spoke was surrounded by waves of Hongmeng energy. Obviously, this person's strength was undoubtedly from the Hongmeng Yuan Jie. The Black Dragon tribe is probably a medium-sized tribe. This tribe is quite pitiful. There are only 3 people in total. It wasn't easy for them to find such a great opportunity, but they still have to let others take it away. They are really unlucky. Long Chen, who had heard the conversation from the beginning to the end, naturally understood who they were referring to. The Heavenly Dragon Tribe, Hongmeng Consolidation Realm. These 3 people were obviously Long Yan, Long Ping, and Long Outyin, who had separated from Long Chen outside the Sunset Valley. Long Chen never imagined that Long Yan and the other 2 would enter the Spirit Realm ruins and find such a great opportunity. Since he knew that the 3 of them were in trouble, Long Chen naturally had no reason to stand by and do nothing. After all, Long Yan and the other 2 had more or less helped Long Chen before this. Long Chen took a deep breath. His figure flashed, and the Hongmeng energy around him erupted. He directly appeared in front of the 2 people who spoke. Seeing Long Chen suddenly appear and erupt with such a powerful aura, the 2 people were confused. The 2 of them and Long Chen looked at each other for a long time. Long Chen was also a little embarrassed. The 3 people you mentioned, where are they now? Long Chen said word by word. Hearing this, the 2 people reacted slightly. Obviously, these 2 people were not the kind of people with violent temperaments. Even though Long Chen attacked first and displayed such an aura as if he wanted to fight, the 2 of them still did not make any moves. The 2 of them looked at each other, and the Hongmeng Yuan Jie expert said, "Sir, are you also interested in the inheritance of the spiritual bodies of the 3 people? However, it's very likely that it's too late. Before I left, those 3 unlucky bastards were already surrounded by 4 large tribes. Unless they are willing to hand over their spiritual bodies, they will not be able to escape death. I just want to know where the 3 of them are. I was a little rude just now. I hope that the 2 of you will not take it to heart." Long Chen said with a little embarrassment. Long Chen originally wanted to use his strength to deter them and force them to tell him what he wanted to know. However, he did not expect that the 2 of them would be so easy to talk to. Since Long Chen said so, the 2 of them did not hide anything. One of them pointed in a direction for Long Chen. Long Chen nodded and immediately headed in that direction. "Sir, with your Hongmeng Consolidation Realm strength, it is indeed a little unrealistic for you to snatch the 3 spiritual bodies under the siege of 4 large tribes." Seeing that Long Chen was about to leave, the 2 of them did not forget to kindly remind him. Long Chen turned around and smiled at the 2 of them, saying, "That's not my goal. Those 3 people are with me." Long Chen turned his body around after his words sounded. Without any hesitation, he swiftly rushed in the direction that the person had pointed to earlier. Long Yuan also immediately followed. "Brother, why are you so polite to this Hongmeng Consolidation Realm person?" After Long Chen left, a person asked. The Hongmeng Yuan Jie expert shook his head and said, "You don't know. This person is Long Chen. According to the news, with his Hongmeng Consolidation Realm strength, he forcibly defeated Mu Wenhua of the 5th level of the Hongmeng Yuan Jie. I am not his opponent at all. He is Long Chen." The person who spoke earlier was shocked and said, "I really did not expect that the 3 people from the Heavenly Dragon tribe would have such a tough tribesman. It seems that the 4 large tribes will have a big battle with this Long Chen. However, even so, It will be difficult to protect 3 people from the 4 large tribes and more than 10 Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1652. In the air above the center of the spiritual world ruins, 2 figures flashed past like lightning, completely ignoring the various tribal ruins on the ground. These 2 people were Long Chen and Long Yuan. Originally, Long Chen had planned to go to the center of the spiritual realm ruins to look for opportunities that were related to the entire spiritual realm ruins. However, since he knew that the 3 people from the Heavenly Dragon tribe were in danger, Long Chen naturally could not sit back and do nothing. After all, Long Chen and the 3 of them had been through a lot together. The news that the 3 of them had obtained 3 spiritual bodies had obviously spread in this small area. When Long Chen rushed in one direction, many people also rushed in the same direction. Obviously, these people's goal was exactly the same as Long Chen's. They wanted to obtain the spiritual bodies of Long Yan and the other 2. Long Chen also knew that the inheritance of a spiritual body, especially the inheritance of a powerful person from tens of thousands of years ago, would be of great help to people. Take Long Chen for example. Long Mu was a spiritual body that lived in Long Chen's body. He could provide Long Chen with many benefits. When Long Chen's cultivation level increased, he could also guide Long Chen in his cultivation. It was indeed something that was hard to come by. Otherwise, the 3 spiritual bodies would not have attracted so many people, even though there were already 4 large tribes besieging them. This feels a little tricky. Long Chen muttered to himself. He had not fully recovered from his injuries, and with so many powerful people coming one after another, it was likely that even with Long Chen's help, Long Yan and the other 2 would not be able to escape successfully. The best solution was for Long Yan and the other 2 to obtain the recognition of the spiritual bodies they had obtained. From there, they would be able to successfully inherit the power of these spiritual bodies and increase their own strength. This would cause the people surrounding them to give up on the idea of attacking them. However, it was obvious that since Long Yan and the other 2 had not obtained the recognition of these 3 spiritual bodies for 100 years, these 3 spiritual bodies probably did not care about Long Yan and the other 2 at all. After all, their strength was at the Hong Meng consolidation realm. In this spiritual realm ruins, there were many large tribes. Furthermore, Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts could be seen everywhere. If Long Yan and the other 2 were unwilling to give up, not only would the 3 spiritual bodies not give them any inheritance, but they might even be killed. This was the logic of a man's wealth being his own ruin by greed. After all, in the eyes of these large tribes, the 3 of them were merely at the Hong Meng consolidation realm. They simply did not have the ability to obtain the inheritance of the spirit bodies. Hence, they only had 2 choices for Long Yan and the other 2. They could either hand over the spirit bodies or die. Without the deterrence of one's strength, even if they obtained an opportunity, they would not have the ability to protect it. Finally, under Long Chen's all-out pursuit, he finally saw a group of people gathered at a mountain kernel. This was probably the place where Long Yan and the other 2 were surrounded by the 4 large tribes. It was also very likely that this was the place where Long Yan and the other 2 obtained the 3 spiritual bodies. Looking at the mountain col that was packed with people, Long Chen also became a little nervous. The mountainside outside the col was already filled with people. Noisy chatter gathered together, causing the usually quiet col to become irritable. These people all looked at the bottom of the kernel. There was something there. A small area that was similar to the tribal ruins that Long Chen had seen before. It was likely that people had lived here for tens of thousands of years. The tribal ruins were continuous, and there was actually a relatively intact stone hall in the depths of the kernel. Although the surroundings of the stone hall were a little messy, it was still possible to see that the stone hall and the surrounding buildings belonged to the same tribe. Compared to the tribal ruins that they had seen before, the tribe that was wrapped in this stone hall was much more distinct. The people present didn't know the origin of this tribe that existed in the spirit realm ruins. However, from the stone temple that was still in good condition, they could see that there was a great inheritance in this tribe, and this inheritance was among the 3 spirits. As soon as they thought of this, a trace of greed immediately surfaced on many people's faces. Then, they looked at the three people in a glowing array not far from the stone hall. This glowing array was obviously cast by someone else to trap these three people. To be able to force three Hongmeng Consolidation Realm practitioners to stay in this array with no way out, the person who cast this array was definitely an expert from the Hongmeng Yuan Jie. Within the array, the three people's emotions were somewhat desolate. Currently, they were like fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. These three people were naturally the Long Yen trio who had obtained the three spiritual bodies but were unable to obtain the recognition of the spiritual bodies. They were directly surrounded by four large tribes and forced to hand over the spiritual bodies. Recalling the excitement when they had obtained the spiritual bodies and looking at the situation when they were surrounded, the three people's expressions became extremely sorrowful under this huge contrast. Long Yan and Long Ping clearly understood that if they did not hand over the spiritual bodies, the people from these large tribes would very likely go all out and kill them. After all, the three of them were only at the Hongmeng Consolidation Realm. In this spiritual realm remains, they did not have any helpers and no one would uphold justice for them. Moreover, this small spiritual realm was not a place where reason was spoken of. Here, one relied on strength. The way things had developed had exceeded the expectations of the three people. Originally, the three of them did not intend to enter this spiritual realm remains. However, when the spiritual realm remains opened, the three of them were coincidentally in the vicinity. Hence, they did not hesitate and followed the vast and mighty crowd in. Once they entered, the three of them were considered lucky. They were directly sent to the central area of the spiritual realm remains. The three of them only needed to explore a little before they found this stone hall and discovered the three spiritual bodies at the same time. After all, the three of them were still somewhat weak. Even though they discovered the three spiritual bodies, they spent a huge amount of effort before they could absorb the three spiritual bodies into their bodies. However, the three of them did not expect that when they absorbed the three spiritual bodies into their bodies, it would cause a strange movement in the stone hall. It actually attracted the attention of a few large tribes in the surrounding area. After these large tribes appeared, their originally joyous emotions turned from wild joy to grief and indignation. When the large tribes attacked, they trapped the three of them in this array and began to force them to hand over the spiritual bodies within their bodies. However, once the spiritual bodies entered one's body, how could it be so easily handed over? Forcefully stripping them would definitely cause great damage to one's body. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1653. Long Yan, what should we do? Long Out Yen, who was trapped in the formation like an animal, asked bitterly under the gazes of the experts around the mountainside. Long Yan's expression was also extremely gloomy. He looked at the surrounding experts who were eyeing him covetously and could not help but grit his teeth. His expression was slightly ferocious, but after a few breaths, he helplessly returned to his original state. Under such circumstances, he had no chance of successfully resisting the Hongmeng Yuan Jie experts. Now that the three of them had cultivated in the small spiritual world for a period of time, their strength had greatly increased. However, under such circumstances, even if their strength had increased, they would still be unable to resist. The three of them were still Hongmeng consolidation stage experts, so they had no way to deal with the situation. Do you remember? When we entered the spiritual world ruins, someone said that the person who obtained the jade ring to open the spiritual world was Long Chen, who had gone to the Sunset Valley with us, Long Ping said slowly from the side. Long Chen? When he heard this, a glimmer of light flashed across Long Yan's eyes. However, this glimmer quickly disappeared as he said, that seems to be the case. However, he only obtained a jade ring. When we separated last time, his strength was at Hongmeng Consolidation Stage Level 5. I don't think he will be able to improve during this period of time. Given the current situation, even if Long Chen were to come, he might not be able to do anything against these Hongmeng Yuan Jie experts. If there's really no way, we can just hand the spiritual body over to them. Long Out Yin shouted. When Long Yan and Long Ping heard this, they both shook their heads. There was a hint of loneliness in their expressions. Long Yan said, "Proud heaven, what you don't know is that once a spirit body is absorbed into our body, it's very likely that the spirit body will seize the opportunity to possess us. Even if we can resist the possession, our strength will be greatly depleted, and we'll definitely be severely injured. It's very likely that we'll die from the pain." When Long Outyin heard this, his face was filled with grief and indignation as he nodded. He then turned to look at the surrounding Hongmeng Yuan Jia experts and said, "Then, do we have a better idea?" When his words fell, Long Yan and Long Ping let out a long sigh. They were speechless as they looked at each other. "Even if we have to hand over the 3 spiritual bodies, we can't let the 4 large tribes have them so easily," Long Yan shouted in a low voice. The grief and indignation in his expression at this moment, he was filled with intense resentment. When Long Yan looked at the 4 large tribes around the mountainside, the 4 tribes were the first to discover that the 3 of them possessed spiritual bodies, the 4 large tribes. And the 4 large tribes. And. Of the 4 large. The 4 tribes gave the Long Yan trio time to consider. Their general meaning was that if the Long Yan trio did not agree to hand over their spiritual bodies, they would be turned into ashes within this great array. When the 4 large tribes on the mountainside saw that Long Yan had begun to size them up, their interest was finally piqued. One of the large men dressed in black jumped 2 positions towards the large formation. He smiled and said, "Why? Have you finally thought it through? Like I said, instead of wasting these spiritual bodies in your bodies, you should hand them over to us. After all, soul treasures will always be in the hands of those who possess strength. Furthermore, if the 3 of you manage to remove your spiritual bodies, we will definitely stand guard beside you and ensure that you will not be possessed by the spiritual bodies." This man's words were pleasant to hear. He did not want Long Yan and the other 2 to be possessed. In reality, he was making plans for them. After all, once the spiritual bodies were possessed, they would be completely useless. "All right, it's a deal." Long Yan nodded his head. When he saw that the 4 large tribes had become interested after hearing his words, Long Yan continued, "However, before that, I still have a question." "Hurry up and say it," the large man dressed in black impatiently said. "Even if the 3 of us successfully remove our spiritual bodies, we will only have 3 spiritual bodies. You are from 4 tribes. I wonder, how do you plan to distribute these 3 spiritual bodies?" Long Yan smiled slightly and slowly asked. When his words fell, the expressions of the experts from the 4 large tribes twitched. It was very obvious that the people from the 4 large tribes had not considered this question at the beginning. When the 4 tribes sized each other up, the atmosphere within the 4 large tribes gradually became strange. The large man dressed in black who had spoken earlier clearly sensed this strange atmosphere. He was the first to realize that this was Long Yan's scheme. He immediately shouted, "You are a smart person to sow discord." The large man dressed in black said these words. The people from the 4 tribes also came to a realization. Now, the most important thing was not to discuss the ownership of these 3 spiritual bodies. Instead, it was to successfully remove the spiritual bodies from the 3 people's bodies. There is no need for a junior from a medium-sized tribe like you to worry about the matters of our 4 tribes. Hurry up and remove the spiritual bodies from your bodies. Otherwise, the 3 of you will not be able to escape death. At this moment, an elder from the 4 large tribes shouted. When he saw that there were still people from the 4 tribes who knew how to judge the situation, Long Yan could only sigh and helplessly admit that his plan to sow discord had failed. It seemed that he had no choice but to remove these 3 spiritual bodies today. Immediately, Long Yan and the other 2 helplessly sat down and began to circulate the Hongmeng in their bodies in an attempt to remove the spiritual bodies from their bodies. It was also at this moment that an unknown Hongmeng chi pillar shot out from midair. With lightning speed, it directly bombarded the formation that was obstructing Long Yan and the other 2 in front of the eyes of everyone from the 4 large tribes. Under the bombardment of the Hongmeng chi pillar, a violent Hongmeng chi wave shook the formation at this moment. In the next moment, it actually shattered. This strange change immediately attracted the attention of everyone from the 4 tribes. Seeing that Long Yan and the other 2 had already agreed to remove the spiritual bodies from their bodies, they had no choice but to be careful when dealing with such a sudden incident. "Who is it?" The large man dressed in black angrily shouted at the surrounding people. Although the people from the Heavenly Dragon tribe are only at the Hongmeng consolidation stage, they cannot be bullied like this. Do you really think that you can do whatever you want in this spiritual realm, Remnant, just because you are at the Hongmeng Yuan Jie stage? Forcing others to remove the spiritual bodies from their bodies, this is a little too much. A straightforward and imposing voice immediately reverberated within the mountain kernel. In the next moment, everyone looked towards the source of the voice. The 2 figures were suspended in mid-air in the call and appeared to be indestructible. Long Chen? Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1654. At this moment, everyone's eyes in the call were fixed on Long Chen and Long Yuan, who had suddenly appeared. They did not know Long Chen's identity. They only knew that the 2 of them dared to stand up against 4 large tribes under such circumstances. They were simply courting death. At the same time, Long Yan and the other 2 knew that Long Chen had arrived the moment Long Chen's voice rang out. Joy immediately surfaced in their eyes. However, as the joy quickly passed, Long Yan and the other 2 sank into deep worry. Although Long Chen was powerful, he was only at the Hongmeng consolidation realm. Against 4 large tribes that had Hongmeng Yuan Jie experts, there was no need for the 4 large tribes to join forces. Just one Hongmeng Yuan Jie expert was enough to finish them off. Ever since Long Chen defeated Mu Wenhua, he had rushed here without stopping. Naturally, the news did not spread as quickly as Long Chen. It was also because of this that the people here had no idea of Long Chen's true strength. The man in black from before looked at Long Chen in the air with a shocked expression. He said, "You are Long Chen?" The Long Chen who found the 2 pieces of jade. Long Chen's expression was indifferent as he said, "That's right." The old man who had spoken earlier sized up Long Chen and said with some suspicion, "This is the Long Chen who was rumored to have defeated Mu Wenhua. He's just a Hongmeng consolidation realm junior. How could he have defeated Mu Wenhua?" Obviously, the old man was doubting Long Chen's strength. Thinking about it, if the old man had seen the great battle that had taken place beside the Hongmeng Lake, he would not have said such a thing even if he had the guts. When the people from the 4 large tribes heard this, they also became suspicious. Long Chen's strength had been clearly investigated by them. Hongmeng consolidation realm 8th level was not difficult to deal with. The man in black also felt that Long Chen's strength was a little weak. However, when he thought about the rumor and the fact that Long Chen had indeed obtained the piece of jade, he could not help but become serious. "Long Chen, don't think that just because you defeated Mu Wenhua, the Hongmeng Yuan Jie is just a piece of paper. You have no right to be so arrogant here." "Ha ha." When Long Chen heard this, he immediately replied in a very displeased manner, "I've just arrived, and you're already saying that I'm being bossy and domineering. You don't know that this is the best way to describe all of you. The opportunity soul treasures in the spirit realm ruins are originally ownerless items. My clansmen were lucky to have obtained them. Even if the 3 spiritual bodies did not directly pass the inheritance to them, it would still be theirs. Sir, you've gathered so many people to force my friends to strip the spiritual bodies that have already been absorbed into their bodies. This is being bossy and domineering." When his voice fell, Long Chen's reasonable words were like thunder exploding in the hearts of everyone at the kernel. Indeed, from Long Chen's words, any spectator could feel the shamelessness of these 4 large tribes. It was just that no one had pointed it out before Long Chen. When he heard these words, the man in black immediately changed his expression. He impatiently shouted, "Brat, I'm warning you for the last time. If you leave now, I can treat it as if nothing has happened. If you continue to pester me endlessly, even if I can't do anything to you today, I will call Mu Wenhua from the Profoundwood tribe to my side in the future and deal with you together with him. I will definitely tear you into 1,000 pieces." When Long Chen heard these words, he could not help but laugh out loud. This black-clothed large man spoke to him in such a manner. Clearly, he was a little afraid of Long Chen. It seemed that the confidence that Long Chen displayed was somewhat useful. Moreover, this black-clothed large man did not know that Mu Wenhua was already dead, yet he dared to say such comical words of intimidation. Long Chen indeed felt that this black-clothed large man did not live up to his reputation. Long Chen was not frightened. Instead, it was Long Yan and the other two who were a little afraid. After all, according to Long Yan and the other two's understanding, Long Chen was still a person at the Hong Meng consolidation stage. When faced with the encirclement of 4 large tribes, even the most outstanding Hong Meng consolidation stage would not be able to hold on. Long Chen, the 3 of us have already agreed to strip the spiritual bodies from our bodies. You don't need to speak up for us anymore. You should leave quickly. Long Yan shouted loudly. The man in black spoke matter-of-factly. After Long Yan shouted, he quickly followed up and said, "Look, your 3 tribe members have already agreed to my suggestion. What else do you have to say? Hurry up and get lost. If it were not for the fact that you used the jade piece to open the remains of the spirit realm, we would have already finished you off." Long Chen was somewhat helpless. However, he knew that Long Yan was still thinking for him. With these words, it also meant that Long Chen's decision to come here was not a wrong one. Long Chen turned around and nodded towards Long Yuan. Long Yuan immediately understood Long Chen's intention. He immediately landed beside Long Yan and the other 2 and whispered into their ears. Very quickly, the expressions of Long Yan and the other 2 underwent a huge change after Long Yuan finished speaking. When they looked at Long Chen again, their gazes were much more solemn. Until now, among the 4 large tribes, only the man in black and the old man's tribe had responded. The other 2 large tribes were like stagnant water. They quietly watched the development without stopping for even a moment. Clearly, they also had their own plans. Even if my tribe members agree, you still have to defeat me before you can take away the 3 spiritual bodies. Long Chen purposely said these words in order to make the other 2 large tribes lower their guard against him. This would allow Long Chen to understand their true strength. After all, it was much better to have an enemy in the open than in the dark. When the man in black heard these words, he was indeed a little angry. He was a member of the Hong Meng Yuan Jie for being provoked by a Hong Meng Yuan Jie. When he thought of this, the man in black could not restrain his anger and said, "Brat, it seems that you have become a little complacent just because you have defeated a member of the Hong Meng Yuan Jie once. With such a domineering attitude, you will not be able to escape death in my place." After he finished speaking, the man in black's figure flashed. The Hong Meng around him suddenly swelled. He directly activated an extremely powerful punch and directly blasted it towards Long Chen. If it was any other time, Long Chen might be interested in playing with the man in black. However, Long Chen was not in the mood now. If the man in black had chosen to condense his domain, he might have been able to protect himself. Now that he had directly charged towards Long Chen, he could not blame Long Chen. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1655. Similarly, if the black-clothed man knew what Long Chen had done not long ago, even if he had 10 times the guts of a leopard, he would not have dared to attack Long Chen with a Hong Meng blast. This might have been the stupidest thing he had ever done in his life. Even so, the black-clothed man still rushed forward. The huge Hong Meng aura he exuded made Long Chen take him seriously. The black-clothed man's punch was like a tiger hunting for its prey. However, the prey of this tiger was not a weak animal, but a wild beast that was even more ferocious than the tiger. The only difference was that Long Chen's performance was not so obvious. A seemingly powerful Hong Meng barrier suddenly formed in front of the black-clothed man. It was filled with the powerful strength of Hong Meng. This black-clothed man was probably thinking that even if he could not defeat Long Chen with his all-out attack, he would at least be able to force Long Chen back. After which, he would be able to raise his voice a little when he spoke. However, it was important to know one's own limits. When one did not, one could only hope to see how the other party would deal with this matter. Obviously, Long Chen was not a person who would be kind to this kind of thing. Boom! Just as the black-clothed man's all-out punch was about to hit Long Chen's body, Long Chen curled his lips and gave the black-clothed man a half-smile. Then, he threw out a seemingly ordinary punch that collided with the black-clothed man's punch. In the eyes of the bystanders, Long Chen's action was no different from courting death. With his strength at the Hongmeng consolidation realm, it was impossible for him to take a full blow from a Hongmeng Yuan Jia master. However, what they did not know was that Long Chen himself was a person who created miracles. The moment the two fists met, a strong Hongmeng Qi wave swept out. In an instant, a huge Hongmeng Qi pillar gushed out. It directly crushed Long Chen's side and pressed down on the black-clothed man on the other side. A series of Hongmeng Qi waves immediately swept out in the mountain valley. Everyone was shocked to see that behind Long Chen, there seemed to be a sun. The blazing sun. The dazzling sun suddenly released a huge energy fluctuation. After a short period of accumulation, it stirred up a whirlpool storm like devouring. It actually sucked in all the attacking momentum of the black-clothed man's full-strength attack. On the other side, after a series of explosions, the Hongmeng Qi pillar did not dissipate. Instead, after it converged, it directly pressed down on the black-clothed man. It fiercely suppressed the black-clothed man and forcefully smashed him to the ground from midair. There was no trace of fancy moves. Since I can defeat a Hongmeng Yuan Jia's Mu Wenhua, I don't mind adding you to the mix. Long Chen shouted coldly. Bang! The black-clothed man's body slammed heavily on the ground. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, he completely fainted. It was obvious that he would not wake up for a while. Looking at this scene, everyone in the mountain valley was extremely shocked at this moment. A look of horror appeared on each of their faces. They never imagined that the black-clothed man, who had the strength of a Hongmeng Yuan Jia, would be directly killed by Long Chen in one move. Similarly, among the few people on the ground, other than Long Yuan, who was able to maintain a normal expression, Long Yan and the other two were so shocked that they were speechless. In less than a month's time, Long Chen's strength had far surpassed any of the three of them. The old man who had spoken previously was also filled with shock when he saw this scene. He first looked at the unconscious black-clothed man on the ground, then turned his head to look at Long Chen, who was still floating in midair as if nothing had happened. In this way, the old man completely believed that Long Chen had defeated Mu Wenhua. The unconscious black-clothed man on the ground was quickly treated by people from the same tribe. Those people looked at Long Chen in the air with some respect, then hurriedly dragged the black-clothed man's body away from the mountain valley. Just as the black-clothed man's tribe was leaving, Long Chen shouted in their direction, "Also, you can forget about seeking revenge on Mu Wenhua. This morning, Mu Wenhua was already killed by me." When these words were spoken, everyone present once again fell into shock. Long Chen had actually killed Mu Wenhua. A Hongmeng consolidation stage practitioner had actually killed a Hongmeng Yuan Jia. This kind of thing had never happened in the past 1,000 years. However, since these words were spoken by Long Chen, it was very likely that they were not false. After that, Long Chen looked at the old man who had spoken previously. His expression was as calm as an ancient well and he said, "These three spiritual bodies were first discovered by three of my tribesmen and were absorbed into their bodies. It is reasonable for them to possess them. I wonder if anyone present has any objections?" No one present dared to speak, even though there were some among them whose strength far surpassed Long Chen's and even though they had the advantage in numbers. In front of Long Chen, who did not care about rules in terms of strength, it was an unreasonable thing to compete in strength. The surrounding people who had rushed over later saw that the remaining three large tribes had already lost their temper. No matter how unwilling they were in their hearts, they were unwilling to rush up and die without knowing why. Many people looked at the three people with the spiritual bodies on the ground and shook their heads with some reluctance. They did not expect that these three seemingly weak people would have such an unreasonable backer behind them. After a long period of silence in the call, since no one stood out to oppose Long Chen smiled in relief. He also looked at the three people on the ground and nodded with a face full of joy. At this point, the storm brought about by this matter had truly passed. Also, just as Longchen was feeling complacent, a few figures actually flew over from the other side of the call and directly attracted the attention of everyone present. Longchen turned to look. Those few figures were a little blurry in the evening sky, but after a closer look, Longchen actually saw a more beautiful figure among them. After a closer look, Longchen was a little surprised. This beautiful figure was somewhat familiar to Longchen, as if he had seen her somewhere before. Longchen could even remember her name. After thinking for a while, Longchen suddenly remembered that this woman seemed to be called Zhou Xiaoxiao. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 1656. Now, the woman named Zhou Xiaoxiao was obviously the leader of the people who were rushing over here. When Zhou Xiaoxiao arrived at the call and stood at the side of the mountain, the people present all looked at Zhou Xiaoxiao in surprise. It was as if Zhou Xiaoxiao had a lot of power here. Longchen was not surprised. After all, someone with such a powerful strength who could break Longchen's monstrous starlight formation in one move would not be a character who was willing to submit to others. Longchen still remembered the last time he talked with Zhou Xiaoxiao. Zhou Xiaoxiao's words were full of disdain for the Scarlet Flame tribe that Longchen regarded as a big enemy at that time. Thinking about it, Zhou Xiaoxiao's strength had already far surpassed the ordinary Hongmeng Yuan Jie. And the great Zhou tribe that opened the spiritual world remnant together with Longchen must have a lot to do with this Zhou Xiaoxiao. Since Zhou Xiaoxiao came here, the first thing she saw was Longchen. In her bright eyes, there was first surprise, then a complicated emotion that Longchen could not understand. Both of them were silent for a while, then Zhou Xiaoxiao opened her mouth and said, "Longchen? Brother, I really didn't expect to see you here." When the people present heard this, they could not react for a while. Longchen did not know Zhou Xiaoxiao's true identity, but the people of the large tribes here knew very well. Not only was Zhou Xiaoxiao a rare genius woman in Hongmeng's polar region, but she was also the current young master of the Great Zhou tribe. She controlled the entire Great Zhou tribe that had entered the small spiritual world. Her strength was also very shocking, almost able to show disdain for everyone present. At the same time, accompanying Zhou Xiaoxiao was a handsome man in white. He stood very close to Zhou Xiaoxiao, and the two of them looked very intimate. When the handsome man in white heard Zhou Xiaoxiao's words to Longchen, he could not help but frown. The gaze he looked at Longchen with increased hostility. After Zhou Xiaoxiao and the handsome man in white appeared, the remaining three large tribes did not leave. They wanted to see how the Great Zhou tribe would deal with the current situation. Longchen looked at the reactions of the surrounding tribes and figured out some information about Zhou Xiaoxiao's background and strength. He was even more wary of the handsome man in white beside Zhou Xiaoxiao. Obviously, the people who came with Zhou Xiaoxiao were not simple characters. The handsome man in white and Longchen looked at each other, smiled slightly, and said with a gentle expression, "Longchen Xiongdi, it's an honor to meet you at last. This time in the spiritual world relic, thanks to you for finding 2 pieces of jade. Otherwise, I'm afraid the opening of the spiritual world relic would have been delayed." Longchen was a little helpless towards these people who he could not distinguish between friend and foe. But since they were the first to treat him with respect, Longchen could not lose his manners. At that time, he cupped his hands together as a response. As for what Zhou Xiaoxiao said to Longchen for the first time, Longchen did not respond. This made Zhou Xiaoxiao a little embarrassed. Zhou Xiaoxiao curled her lips and said, "Longchen Xiongdi, last time in the mysterious stone room, you hit me too hard. Now, won't you apologize to me?" Longchen was not used to Zhou Xiaoxiao's personality and the way she addressed him. It was only the second time he and Zhou Xiaoxiao met, and the first time they met, they fought. The second time they met, they were like old friends who had not seen each other for a long time. It really made Longchen unable to react for a while. Seeing Longchen's conflicted face after she finished speaking, Zhou Xiaoxiao also burst out laughing. She quickly said, "Originally, I plan to beat you into a pig's head the next time I see you, since you made me suffer so much. But now, even though you are only in the Hongmeng consolidation realm, you can even defeat Mu Wenhua of the Hongmeng Yuan Jie. It looks like I don't dare to make a move easily. Last time, I didn't know that the jade was so powerful. Longchen smiled awkwardly. He also gradually understood that Zhou Xiaoxiao, this woman, must have purposely displayed such a carefree appearance to make people lower their guards so that she could gain an advantage over them. If Longchen had not truly experienced this woman's ability, perhaps today Longchen would really be stunned by this woman's words. Looking at it this way, Zhou Xiaoxiao's background was undoubtedly the great Zhou tribe, and the handsome man in white beside her looked strong enough. He should also be a ruthless person. Xiongni Longchen, I have to say that your potential is indeed very great. You were able to kill Mu Wenhua beyond your realm. I really don't understand. I really want to know how you did it. The handsome man in white said. Longchen smiled slightly and said, if you want to know, then you might have to fight with me. Hearing this, the handsome man in white also laughed twice and quickly said, you must be joking. I was just casually mentioning it. Oh right, I think Xiongni Longchen still doesn't know me. I am Bing Fanming, from the Ice Tribe. The Ice Tribe. Longchen had some influence on this tribe. Early in the Sunset Valley, Longchen had seen people from the Ice Tribe, but he had never seen this Bing Fanming. Presumably, the Ice Tribe was also divided into several teams, and the team led by Bing Fanming was definitely much stronger than the one in the Sunset Valley. Hearing the name Bing Fanming, the surrounding people were shocked again. Longchen also did not understand, but thinking carefully, Longchen felt that this Bing Fanming, perhaps in this polar region of Hongmeng, was also a famous person. Nice to meet you. Longchen nodded and then said, I don't know what you are planning to do here. Could it be that you are also interested in the spiritual bodies in the hands of my tribesmen? Hearing this, Bing Fanming hurriedly waved his hand and said, we will never do things that force people to do. As for the purpose of coming here, it is just to get to know Xiongni Longchen. Hearing this, the three large tribes that had once besieged Longyan and the other two people's faces immediately fell. It seemed that Bing Fanming was talking about them. Longchen was a bit flattered. Bing Fanming's words were indeed giving him a lot of face. As for what Bing Fanming and Zhou Xiaoxiao meant, Longchen really could not figure it out. Longchen paused a bit and said, you are too polite. I, Longchen, am just a small character. I am not worthy of your words. It is my great honor. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1657. Seeing that Bing Fanming and Zhou Xiaoxiao didn't have any malicious intentions, Longchen was slightly relieved. Next, Longchen and this person called Bing Fanming talked about some unimportant things. During the conversation, Bing Fanming intentionally or unintentionally revealed to Longchen the location of the center of the spiritual realm ruins, as well as some other information. This allowed Longchen to more or less understand the spiritual realm ruins. As the two of them talked, Zhou Xiaoxiao would occasionally say a few words. Although the conversation was a little awkward, it was still considered quite smooth overall. When the surrounding people saw that the two groups of people didn't intend to fight, they also gradually retreated. Seeing that the surrounding people were getting fewer and fewer, Zhou Xiaoxiao and Bing Fanming also intended to retreat. Brother Longchen, this is only the beginning of the spiritual realm ruins. I think that in the future, when you really reach the center of the spiritual realm ruins, we will meet again. At that time, please don't forget that we have met here. More or less, we can be considered friends. Bing Fanming said in a somewhat candid manner. Longchen nodded and said, of course, I also hope that Brother Bing will treat me, Longchen, as a friend in the future. Let's part ways when we meet. I won't see you off. Zhou Xiaoxiao also said her goodbyes, and then she and Bing Fanming jumped to the other side and left in a carefree and unrestrained manner. Looking at the figures of Zhou Xiaoxiao and the others leaving, Longchen felt a little emotional. From his conversation with Bing Fanming, Longchen gradually understood that in the spiritual realm ruins, even the large tribes were nothing special. Also, it was very likely that some of the 10 largest tribes had entered here. The goal of these tribes was to obtain the greatest treasure in the spiritual realm ruins. After knowing this, Longchen couldn't help but become serious. It seemed that if he wanted to survive in the spiritual realm ruins and successfully obtain the treasures and opportunities, he would have to put in a lot of effort. After Zhou Xiaoxiao and Bing Fanming left, the people who came with them also followed. In midair, a slightly thin young man came to Bing Fanming's side and said, "Cousin, why are you so polite to Longchen? After all, he is only a Hongmeng consolidation realm person." Although the person who spoke looked a little thin, the Hongmeng aura around him showed that he wasn't weak. It was very likely that he was also a Hongmeng Yuan Jia powerhouse. Bing Fanming shook his head and said, "Even if he is a Hongmeng consolidation realm person, I still feel that he is just hiding his strength. If he wants, he can break through to the Hongmeng Yuan Jia realm at any time." When the young man who spoke earlier heard this, he pondered for a moment before saying, "However, even if that's the case, even if he breaks through to the primordial origin realm, will he be able to contend against the members of the 10 great tribes? The strength of those people is unfathomable. Compared to Longchen, who has a greater chance of victory?" The young man's meaning was not to mock Longchen, but to praise the people from the 10 major tribes. It seemed that the people from the 10 major tribes were indeed very powerful. "No, you are still looking at the surface." Bing Fanming thought for a moment and said, "Longchen has a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Moreover, he is not from the Heavenly Dragon tribe or the Black Dragon tribe as we know. I have already asked people to investigate, and the conclusion is that he is not from the Hongmeng polar region. What's going on?" The thin young man was shocked. Bing Fanming looked serious and said, "I don't know either. When I used a secret method to communicate with the people outside, they told me this. Also, the person who opened the entrance to the small spirit world is Longchen. He is closely related to the opening of the small spirit world and the change of the rules of the small spirit world. Moreover, he has found 2 jade sliders to open the spirit world relic. After he killed Mu Wenhua, he has already obtained 3 of the 5 jade sliders to open the spirit world relic. In the future, if something happens in the spirit world relic that requires the jade sliders to solve, do you think it is necessary to be on good terms with Longchen now?" Before the thin young man could reply, Zhou Xiaoxiao added, "Indeed. If Longchen didn't have any ability, I wouldn't have shown him any mercy. Back then, in the mysterious space, I was so furious that I was actually tricked by him." Bing Fanming smiled at Zhou Xiaoxiao and said, "Before we even entered the spirit world relic, he was able to defeat Mu Wenhua with lightning speed in front of so many people at the entrance of the spirit world relic. I think it won't be difficult for him to kill Mu Wenhua in the spirit world relic. According to the news, the place where he defeated Mu Wenhua is a huge Hongmeng lake. He used the power of the lake to unleash a technique on par with the Hongmeng's Azure technique there and directly killed Mu Wenhua," Zhou Xiaoxiao said slowly as she blinked her eyes. After hearing these words, the skinny and weak-looking young man began to ponder. His understanding of Longchen had also become even more thorough. Even Zhou Xiaoxiao, who was present, didn't have the confidence to be able to unleash the Hongmeng's Azure technique with the strength of the Hongmeng realm, let alone Bing Fanming and the thin young man. So, no matter what, before we confirm Longchen's true strength, we definitely can't make an enemy out of him. He's a potential threat. He can't be considered a strong competitor for us in the future, but for now, we definitely have to avoid him. Right now, we have 5 spirit world jades. We have 1, Longchen has 3, and the remaining 1 is in the hands of the Yehua tribe. The people of the Tianfeng tribe and the Red Sun tribe don't know about Longchen's existence yet. Taking advantage of this opportunity to get acquainted with Longchen isn't a bad idea, Bing Fanming said slowly with a serious gaze. Zhou Xiaoxiao said, "That makes sense. Longchen is indeed a potential threat right now. However, I think we can use this condition of Longchen to get acquainted with the people of the Tianfeng tribe and the Red Sun tribe in the future." Bing Fanming nodded slightly and said, I heard that the technique Long Chen used to defeat Mu Wenhua was very similar to a long-lost technique of the Red Sun tribe. I believe that even if we don't say anything, the people of the Red Sun tribe will take the initiative to find trouble with Long Chen. At that time, if we lend a hand, we'll definitely be able to make Long Chen completely stand on our side. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1658. On the other side, Long Chen immediately arrived beside Long Yan and the other two after Zhou Xiao, Bing, Fan Ming and the rest left. Long Chen could not help but smile when he saw the three of them whom he had not seen for a long time. His expression was as familiar as if he had just met his family. Indeed, during the time that Long Chen had spent with Long Yan and the other two, Long Chen had indeed treated Odd Ching and the other two as his own family. Long Yan looked at the people who had once been eyeing them covetously as they left. He then looked at Long Chen, who was standing by the side and now appeared to be filled with a sense of security. Long Yan was very touched. "Many thanks." After being silent for a long time, Long Yan finally said these words. Long Chen smiled and said, "We are all friends, there is no need to be so polite." Long Chen's expression was very gentle when he spoke, causing one to feel a sense of closeness with a single glance. Just like that, the estrangement between the few of them that had not seen each other for a long time was also removed. Long Ping said, "I never imagined that your cultivation level would be so high in just a short month. You were actually able to defeat Mu Wenhua." Long Chen shook his head and said, "I was merely lucky. The three of you are not bad either. The three of you have obtained the 3 spiritual bodies. If you are able to obtain the inheritance within, I believe that you will soar to the heavens in the future." Long Yan and the other two's expressions suddenly turned desolate when they heard these words. If it were not for the 3 spiritual bodies, the 3 of them would not have ended up in such a situation today. Moreover, even if they had absorbed the 3 spiritual bodies into their bodies, the 3 of them were actually unable to obtain the inheritance of the spiritual bodies. This caused the 3 of them to involuntarily feel a little awkward. Long Chen had roughly seen through the thoughts of the 3 of them and immediately replied, "Don't be anxious. These spiritual bodies have existed in this spiritual world remains for tens of thousands of years. I estimate that they were definitely Hongmeng Tianjing when they were alive. They will definitely not give up the inheritance so easily. However, as long as the 3 of you are willing to work hard, these spiritual bodies will eventually pass the inheritance to you in the future. Otherwise, they can only silently wait for death." Long Chen's words implied another meaning which Long Yan and the other two understood. Originally, these spiritual bodies had gathered around the bodies of those experts tens of thousands of years ago after their deaths in Hongmeng. They were able to protect their souls from dissipating, thus forming the so-called spiritual bodies. Spiritual bodies only had a spirit. Spiritual bodies were spiritual bodies. They were originally very unstable existences. Originally, it was reasonable for them to quietly stay in one place for a period of time. But now, since these spiritual bodies had been absorbed into the bodies of Long Yan and the other two, it meant that Long Yan and the other two already had the authority to deal with these spiritual bodies. If these spiritual bodies were unwilling to pass their inheritance to Long Yan and the other two, Long Yan and the other two could forcibly activate their minds and directly exterminate these spiritual bodies in their bodies. Therefore, Long Chen said that Long Yan and the other two would receive the inheritance sooner or later. After all, since these spiritual bodies had bitterly persevered for tens of thousands of years, they definitely wanted to live. Why don't we do this? The 3 of you can try to communicate with these spiritual bodies again. I will stand guard beside the 3 of you. Since we have obtained them and have spent so much effort on them, we should naturally give it a try, Long Chen said emotionally. Actually, Long Chen was not interested in these spiritual bodies. After all, Long Chen already had a spiritual body in his body. To Long Yuan also had the dragon soul and the sky demon dragon spear. Naturally, he did not need it. Long Yan and the other two, on the other hand, did not have any inheritance. They were naturally overjoyed to be able to obtain these 3 spiritual bodies. Long Yan and the other 2 were a little excited when they heard Long Chen's words. Previously, when they absorbed these spiritual bodies into their bodies, they originally thought that they would directly receive the inheritance of the spiritual bodies. Who would have thought that there would be no reaction from the spiritual bodies at all? They were indeed extremely disappointed. Now that Long Chen had proposed to give the 3 of them another chance to communicate with the spiritual bodies and even personally stand guard, the 3 of them immediately became restless. Long Yan said, "Long Chen, the truth is that we are not very confident. After all, the 3 of us have great talent. I believe that these spiritual bodies will not submit to us." Long Chen said in a clear voice, "What's there to be afraid of? When you communicate with them, you just have to say that if they don't agree, you can directly use your mind to kill them. At most, you can just treat it as if nothing happened. Rather than letting them live in your body without any benefits, you might as well directly kill them. That will save you a lot of effort." Long Ping and Long Outyin looked at each other and asked in unison, "Is that even possible?" Long Yuan did not know much about this matter. Hence, he stood to one side and did not speak. Long Chen nodded and said, "Don't worry, there is no problem." At this point, there was no one else in the kernel. The 3 of them looked at each other and made a decision. They immediately sat down with their legs crossed and entered their own world. Long Chen and Long Yuan stood to one side and guarded the 3 people who had entered their minds. After a while, Long Yan was the first to open his eyes. When he saw Long Chen again, his face was filled with joy. Clearly, Long Yan had succeeded. Although Long Chen did not know how the spiritual body communicated with Long Yan, he knew that Long Yan had succeeded just by looking at Long Yan's expression. Soon, Long Ping and Long Outyin also opened their eyes. From their expressions, Long Chen could tell that they had succeeded. "Long Chen, thank you," Long Yan said emotionally. Clearly, the spiritual body that had been absorbed into Long Yan's body was very powerful back then. The inheritance that it brought with it was also very powerful. I only activated it a little. In the end, all of you relied on your own strength to obtain the inheritance. I believe that all of you will have many things to do in the future. Long Yuan and I also have some matters to attend to. I believe that we will not be able to travel together," Long Chen said casually. When Long Yan heard this, he immediately became a little disappointed. However, he could understand that an existence like Long Chen naturally had his own matters to attend to. This time, he had appeared to rescue them from their predicament. This was already the best gift to them. Long Yan said, "All right, Long Chen, a person like you will definitely achieve great things. I hope that you will be able to achieve great things in the future. We will always be friends." "Yes, we will always be friends." Long Chen nodded and said goodbye to Long Yuan. The 2 of them bade farewell to Long Yan and the other 2 and leaped up to leave. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1659. In the boundless spirit realm ruins, Long Chen led Long Yuan to their destination, the so-called central area of the spirit realm ruins, which they had scouted out previously. This time, Long Chen did not wander aimlessly like when he had just entered the spiritual world ruins. Now that he knew most of the secrets of the spiritual world ruins and had control over 3 of the 5 pieces of jade, Long Chen naturally wanted to search for the greater secrets of the spiritual world ruins. Just like how Long Yan and the other 2 obtained the inheritance of the spiritual body from 10,000 years ago, Long Chen also wanted some inheritance. However, what Long Chen hoped for was an even more powerful inheritance. Long Chen also understood that if he wanted to obtain this kind of spiritual treasure, he would definitely have to compete with other people in the spiritual world ruins. Sometimes, he would even have to engage in a battle. This was unavoidable. Long Chen was not afraid of fighting. The ones that could really make Long Chen fear were those who would attack him secretly. After all, in the spiritual world ruins, crooks and honest people were mixed together. There were countless experts from Hongmeng Yuan Jie. Even if Long Chen had the ability to fight against the experts from Hong Meng Yuan Jia, he still had to be careful. The inheritance that was related to the secret of this small spiritual world would definitely attract a countless number of people to head over. The soul awakening grass that Long Chen yearned for would likely cause everyone to exclaim in surprise. If the soul awakening grass that Long Chen yearned for was also there, it was likely that it would incite a wave of people to snatch it. In this way, it would not be an easy matter to successfully monopolize these benefits in the hands of those people. After all, there were only two people on Long Chen's side. Those hidden opponents appeared in the form of a tribe. A large tribe with close to 2 digits of Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts. Even if Long Chen had advanced to the Hong Meng Yuan Jia realm, it would not be easy to deal with them. Spiritual world ruins, soul awakening grass. No matter what, as long as there is something that I need here, even if it is Hong Meng Tianjing, I will fight with them. Long Chen secretly encouraged himself as he flew. In the following flight, Long Chen did not rest for a moment. He had been rushing at full speed towards the place that Long Chen was most interested in. Long Yuan followed behind Long Chen. He was tortured badly, but he did not dare to say anything. Long Yuan knew that Long Chen must have his reasons for doing this. Long Chen. Under this almost crazy rush, the tribe ruins that they saw along the way seemed to have not been excavated. Long Chen did not even spare a glance at them. Hard work pays off. Under Long Chen's crazy flight, after about a day and a night, Long Chen finally saw his destination. At the same time, as Long Chen's position changed, Long Chen gradually felt that the Hong Meng around him had become more intense. The remnants of the tribe ruins on the ground had become a huge tribe here. It looked intact and did not look like a place that had not been set foot for tens of thousands of years. Similarly, a place with opportunities was also full of danger. In this place, the Hong Meng between heaven and earth was extremely unstable. From time to time, clumps of Hong Meng force would condense in mid-air and wander aimlessly in the air. Although the power of these Hong Meng forces was not very strong, if one was accidentally attacked, one would not be able to recover in a short period of time. No matter what, one would have to suffer some pain. At the same time, this dangerous environment also proved that Long Chen had truly arrived at the central area of the spiritual realm ruins. There was no one around, which gave Long Chen reason to believe that this place had definitely not been explored by those outside. Long Chen and Long Yuan no longer dared to fly in the air due to the wild and violent auras that appeared from time to time. Immediately, they landed on the ground and slowly moved forward while searching for soul treasures. This time, the walk lasted for about an hour. Long Chen felt that the atmosphere was becoming more and more abnormal. First of all, the temperature in the spiritual realm ruins was getting colder and colder. Even though Long Chen was now able to adapt to the influence of the outside world's temperature, Long Chen still felt that something was wrong when the surrounding temperature dropped. As the temperature dropped, the surrounding environment also changed, which surprised Long Chen. The ruins, which were originally considered normal, had turned into a frozen area. Whistling cold winds were raging. What surprised Long Chen even more was that in the spiritual realm ruins, it was actually snowing heavily. After pondering for a long time, Long Chen finally understood. The strange phenomenon of heaven and earth here was very likely due to a large formation that was set up by someone. The purpose of the formation was to protect something. The world of ice and snow was displayed in front of Long Chen because of the existence of this large formation. It was also because of this that Long Chen had truly arrived at the central area of the spiritual realm ruins, the core area. After all, only this place was worthy of being protected by such a powerful formation. As he walked forward, what Long Chen saw and heard finally confirmed Long Chen's guess. This was a vast expanse of snow and ice wilderness. Looking from afar, the whistling cold wind blew up bursts of snowflakes, which directly condensed into a mass of violent and cold Hong Meng aura in mid-air. It directly pounced between heaven and earth. A world of ice and snow. Looking at this scene, Long Chen could not help but feel amazed. What kind of powerful formation could actually create such a world of ice and snow? Moreover, in this place, there was obviously an endless Hongmeng aura protecting it. Long Chen understood that if he wanted to enter the core area of the spiritual realm ruins, he had to pass through this world of ice and snow. In this area, it was very likely that one attack after another was launched. As long as someone set foot in this area, the bitingly cold Hongmeng aura would wrap around the endless Hongmeng aura and directly kill the intruder. Looking at some of the faintly discernible footprints around him, Long Chen also understood that before Long Chen, there was a high possibility that someone had already come here and successfully passed through this world of ice and snow to enter the core area of the spiritual realm ruins. Just by standing at the edge, Long Chen could already feel that he was being suppressed by an unknown Hongmeng aura. It was really hard to imagine what kind of resistance would there be in the middle of this world of ice and snow. Just as Long Chen was waiting, some figures directly rushed past Long Chen and immediately headed to the other side of the world of ice and snow. Long Chen faintly sensed the strength of these people. Obviously, these decisive people were all above Hongmeng Yuan Jie. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1660. It could be seen that the obstruction of this world of ice and snow was nothing in the eyes of these primordial origin realm experts compared to the numinous treasure opportunity inheritance in the spirit world ruins. Long Chen looked at Long Yuan and said, "Are you ready?" Long Yuan nodded and said, "Yes." "Let's go too," Long Chen said resolutely. Then, Long Chen's figure flashed and directly activated the Hongmeng around him. He slowly walked towards the world of ice and snow. Just as he stepped into the world of ice and snow, the biting cold of the Hongmeng directly attacked Long Chen's face. Even though Long Chen had condensed the Hongmeng armor, he still felt a little uncomfortable from the cold of the Hongmeng. For Long Yuan, it was even more difficult to resist the cold of the Hongmeng aura. In less than a short distance, Long Yuan's speed became slower and slower. It seemed that he would soon be unable to walk. Long Chen hurriedly activated the Hongmeng around him. Dots of starlight flickered and directly condensed into a monstrous starlight array around him and Long Yuan. It could be considered as isolating a part of the cold and sinister Hongmeng aura. In this way, Long Yuan could be considered to have an easier time. However, the bone-piercing cold wind that came through the monstrous starlight array was still somewhat difficult for the two of them to deal with. This world of ice and snow was the effect of a large ray. Moreover, in this world of ice and snow, there was originally an endless amount of Hongmeng aura. Once the devouring cold wind blew past, the Hongmeng aura would directly condense into a mass of Hongmeng force that possessed great destructive power. If he was hit by this Hongmeng, even Long Chen did not dare to be confident that he would be able to escape unscathed in this world of ice and snow. Therefore, in this place, Long Chen had to advance cautiously. He didn't relax at all. Long Chen and Long Yuan were enveloped by the great starlight formation. Although it could not withstand the biting cold winds of Hongmeng, overall, Long Chen and Long Yuan were still safe. Gradually, they arrived at the center of this world of ice and snow. Long Chen could finally vaguely see the area on the other side of the world of ice and snow. That was the spirit world ruins that Long Chen yearned for. Seeing this, Long Chen could not help but rejoice. However, Long Chen did not dare to let his guard down. In this world of ice and snow, there must be more powerful means of attack. Otherwise, it would be a little funny if Long Chen, a person at the consolidation realm in Hongmeng, could so easily pass through an array that was tens of thousands of years old. Soon, Long Chen's thoughts were confirmed. Just as Long Chen and Long Yuan successfully arrived at the center of this world of ice and snow with the help of the great starlight formation, there was a slight change in the surrounding biting cold winds. On the ground of this world of ice and snow, there were waves of tremors. Then, after a gust of cold wind blew past, the surroundings of Long Chen condensed into balls of ice pillars that directly appeared in front of Long Chen. This is an ice attack? Looking at these ice pillars that made people feel a chill, although Long Chen did not know what the essence of this was, he felt the biting cold of these ice pillars through the air. Long Chen knew that this was not simple. If it attacked, Long Chen's great starlight formation would not be able to withstand it. Soon, when Long Chen looked around, there were dozens of corpses in the surrounding world of ice and snow. Moreover, these corpses were wrapped in ice. If he could see through their human shape, Long Chen was afraid that these corpses would really be part of this world of ice and snow. Evidently, there were already people who had arrived at this world of ice and snow before Long Chen. They had also vainly attempted to pass through this world of ice and snow. However, before the obstruction of the frigid ice pillars, they had all failed and lost their lives. Even the experts of Hong Meng Yuan Jia could be killed. How could Long Chen stop it? At this time, Long Mu, who was in the Dragon Palace, said loudly, "Long Chen, these ice pillars are very strange. No matter what, you should not touch them. I think that if you touch them, you will be frozen like those corpses." Then what should I do? Long Chen was a little nervous. Long Mu pondered for a moment, then said, "Since it's ice, it's definitely afraid of fire. Now, maintain this monstrous starlight formation on one hand, and push the mystical dragon's sacred flame to its limit on the other. Then, use this momentum to charge forward." After listening to Long Mu's suggestion, Long Chen felt that it was feasible and began to move. Long Chen focused his mind and poured a part of his Hong Meng aura into the monstrous starlight formation. This way, even without Long Chen's protection, the monstrous starlight formation would be able to maintain itself for a period of time. "Long Yuan, no matter what, don't let these ice pillars touch you. In a while, run with me," Long Chen reminded. Long Yuan nodded. Then, Long Chen condensed 9 golden dragons. At the same time, Long Chen activated all of his Hong Meng aura and used them together, turning them into raging flames. The 9 golden dragons absorbed all of the raging flames around Long Chen's body and faintly gathered behind Long Chen. Then, Long Chen's mind moved and the raging flames erupted. They formed a sea of fire around Long Chen's body and whizzed towards the ice pillars that were blocking their way. The monstrous starlight formation blocked the first collision between the ice pillars and Long Chen and Long Yuan. Then, under the mysterious dragon's sacred flame, the ice pillars gradually lost their original terrifying chill. Long Chen was also constantly changing directions, trying his best to avoid the endless stream of icy air pillars. The 9 golden dragons continued to spew raging flames, forcing Long Chen and Long Yuan to move forward in this world of ice and snow. Those ice pillars that pierced towards Long Chen directly turned into a ball of ice water when they neared him. It seemed that Long Mu's suggestion was correct. However, due to this extreme exhaustion, Long Chen's body gradually became unsteady. The sacred flames that were emitted by the 9 golden dragons also became smaller and smaller. And this world of ice and snow still had no end in sight. If Long Chen gave up on activating the mysterious dragon's sacred flame at this moment, without the protection of the monstrous starlight formation, perhaps Long Chen would be directly surrounded by the ice pillars. It was also at this moment that something even more terrifying appeared in this world of ice and snow under Long Chen's raging flames. Kaboom! The originally indestructible world of ice and snow actually began to shake. Under this world of ice and snow, a bone-chilling Hong Meng aura appeared. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1661. Long Chen, who was originally under the protection of the Great Starlight Array, felt the bone-piercing aura of Hong Meng, and his expression immediately turned serious. At the end of the phone gradually, as time passed, Long Chen also saw what exactly that lump of thing was. In this vast world of ice and snow, a cluster of nearly transparent cold aura, which still emitted specks of silver light, slowly rose in this world of ice and snow. That cold aura might have been stimulated by Long Chen's mysterious dragon's sacred flame, or it might have been due to other reasons. In any case, when this cold aura appeared in front of Long Chen felt from the bottom of his heart that an unstoppable chill came from his heart. Cold! Extremely cold. The bone-piercing chill directly swept into Long Chen's body. At this moment, the howling cold wind in the air seemed to have stopped, probably frozen by this cold aura. Moreover, what made Long Chen even more surprised was that this cold aura seemed to have intelligence. and was changing its shape according to its shapeless constitution. Long Chen indeed did not recognize this thing. Even Long Mu, after looking at this cold aura for a long time, only then did he roughly understand this thing. This, perhaps, is the primordial Ice Soul? Hearing this unfamiliar term, Long Chen frowned, and said with a trembling voice, "What is this thing?" Because Long Mu was a spiritual body, this cold temperature did not affect him at all. Long Mu thought for a while, and said, "I might be wrong, but it's all memories from 100,000 years ago. I've only heard about it from others, and today is the first time I've seen it. As for whether it's the primordial Ice Soul or not, I'm really not sure." "Then tell me," Long Chen said anxiously. Long Mu nodded and said, "Legend has it that in the land of ice, if certain conditions are met, a miraculous existence will be born in Hong Meng. This kind of existence is born cold and cannot take any form, but it possesses the land of ice. Strength is indeed the most powerful thing in the world. Anything that comes into contact with it will instantly turn into ice. This thing is known as the Origin Ice Soul." After listening to Long Mu's careless explanation, Long Chen's confused thoughts became a little clearer. After thinking for a while, he said, "In other words, this thing in front of us is the primal Ice Soul?" "Well, according to what you said, that's true." "Is it a spiritual treasure?" "To think that you dare to think in this direction. Why don't you take a look at the cold aura around the Origin Ice Soul? I estimate that you will turn into a solid ice cube before you can even get close to it." Long Mu snorted coldly. Thinking of this, Long Chen wasn't as cold as before. He said, "I know what you mean. I can see that this primal Ice Soul has intelligence. However, it has been nurtured here for tens of thousands of years. Since it was able to appear in front of me, it can produce such a cold aura around it, and even I, who have the starlight array, can't withstand it. If it was someone else, what would happen?" After listening to Long Chen's words, Long Mu gradually became confused. He said, "Long Chen, what do you mean? Don't tell me you want to take this Origin Ice Soul for yourself? What else could it be?" Long Chen chuckled. If it was someone else who saw this legendary Origin Ice Soul, they would probably be afraid that they were not fast enough to escape. However, when it came to Long Chen, he did not want to escape, but wanted to take this Origin Ice Soul for himself. If this Origin Ice Soul had spiritual intelligence, it would probably be angered to tears by Long Chen. In front of them, the Origin Ice Soul constantly emitted a bone-chilling aura. This aura passed through the starlight array and poured into Long Chen and Long Yuan's bodies. The Origin Ice Soul was also constantly changing its shape. Sometimes it was a ball, and sometimes it was a thin piece of paper. "Then what do you plan to do?" Long Mu asked doubtfully. Long Chen nodded and said, "It is indeed impossible to get close to this Origin Ice Soul. However, I have the Heavenly Dragon's secret art. I want one of the golden dragons to devour this Origin Ice Soul." "This idea of yours is too bold." Long Mu was shocked. Long Chen shook his head and said, "No, I think it is normal. First of all, we all know that these 9 golden dragons have a huge devouring power. Previously, in the dense forest, the golden dragons directly devoured Mu Wenhua's towering tree. Now, I have mastered the 9th part of the Heavenly Dragon's secret art. The strength of the 9 golden dragons has also reached the peak. Now, if I succeed in my plan, my 9 golden dragons will become 9 ice dragons. Moreover, they will possess the Origin Ice Soul. With the power of Frost Soul, I believe that my 9 golden dragons can even freeze a primordial realm expert's domain in the future if they encounter one." After hearing Long Chen's words, Long Mu nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, as Long Chen said, the 9 golden dragons had a huge devouring power. If they could really devour this Origin Ice Soul, the power that the golden dragons could unleash was really enough to destroy the heavens and earth. Although it is theoretically possible, the problem is how to make the 9 golden dragons successfully devour the Origin Source Ice Soul. First of all, in order to complete the devouring, the 9 golden dragons have to get close to the Origin Source Ice Soul. Secondly, as the controller of the 9 golden dragons, you will have to get close to the origin ice soul. In that case, are you sure you will not be frozen into an ice cube? Long Mu's worried expression surfaced on his face. When Longchen heard this, he laughed and said, I have already thought about it. We Long Yuan only have physical bodies. Chapter 1662. Under Long Chen's insistence, no matter how unwilling Long Mu was, he had no choice but to obey Long Chen in order to obtain the soul awakening grass. Baidu search, to enter this site. Long Mu also knew that if this was successful, the 9 ice dragons would definitely strengthen Long Chen much more than the 9 golden dragons. Long Chen and Long Yuan first retreated a distance to avoid the coldest aura of the ice soul. Then, Long Chen instructed Long Yuan to protect him while he activated the Heavenly Dragon secret art to condense the 9 golden dragons and charged towards the ice soul. The soul whizzed past. Long Mu also left the Dragon Palace at this moment and attached his spiritual body to one of the golden dragons. With Long Mu's attachment, the golden dragon was also free from Long Chen's control. Long Mu was the first to approach the ice soul and surrounded it with his dragon body. The golden dragon was formed from the primordial chaos of heaven and earth, and the dragon tomb was a spiritual body. This ice soul origin was naturally of no use to them. The remaining 8 golden dragons followed closely behind. These 8 golden dragons were controlled by Long Chen. Long Chen had a physical body. Even though he was far away from the ice soul, his body still turned red from the coldness. Even though it was controlled by Hong Meng, it was still able to freeze Long Chen to this state. It was clear how powerful the ice soul was. It could be said that Long Chen only truly felt the terror of the origin ice soul at this moment. His complacent expression, which had swelled to the point of being able to swallow it, also gradually disappeared. Long Mu, are you ready? Long Chen really could not resist the coldness. The speed of the 8 golden dragons also gradually slowed down. The golden dragon controlled by Long Mu did not answer. Instead, it directly started to devour. The so-called devouring was just to turn the power possessed by the dragon into one's own control. Long Mu surrounded the ice soul. With the other 8 golden dragons around him, the environment was probably safe. Long Mu only hoped that the ice soul would not resist too much. Whoosh! As a gust of cold wind whistled past, Long Mu began to devour. A strong and vigorous aura of the primordial world spread out, directly controlling the origin ice soul under the dragon's body. A golden light flashed past, leaving behind a golden dragon-shaped imprint in the air. Without any hesitation, the imprint wrapped around the origin ice soul. Perhaps the ice soul felt the power of the devouring, it immediately vibrated with a fierce cold aura. It directly condensed a pillar of cold aura that was even fiercer than the ones Long Chen had seen before. It was as fast as lightning. It shot to kill Long Mu. However, it was still too late. Long Mu's speed was too fast. The moment he came into contact with the ice soul, the original mark flashed with a dazzling golden light and sealed the pillar of cold aura around him. Devour! Long Mu exerted his strength and the golden mark immediately spread out. It was like a sturdy seal that was indestructible and controlled Yuan Bing within it. At this moment, the ice soul also began to tremble violently. However, it was all in vain. The golden dragon's powerful devouring power had already devoured the Hong Meng's aura that the ice soul carried. Long Mu did the same thing 9 times. He attached himself to the 9 golden dragons and allowed each of them to devour the aura of the ice soul. By the time the 9 golden dragons had finished devouring the origin ice soul, the size of the origin ice soul had shrunk by nearly half. As for Long Chen, who was far away, half of his body had already been frozen into an ice cube. Although Long Yuan was anxious, there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, with half of his body frozen into ice, Long Chen still had some self-awareness and could gradually control himself. When the 9 golden dragons had finished devouring the power of the ice soul, the 9 golden dragons turned into 9 ice dragons. The 9 ice dragons turned from a dazzling golden color to a blue color. As they whizzed past, a cold aura spread out like a tide. Seeing that the 9 ice dragons were normal, Long Chen immediately withdrew the 9 golden dragons and used his Hong Meng to nourish his body. Long Mu also returned to the dragon palace in Long Chen's body. After all, to devour the ice soul by force, even if Long Mu would not be devoured by the ice soul, it would still consume a lot of energy. After being devoured, the origin ice soul also lost the sharpness that it had just appeared. In a short while, it disappeared into this vast world of ice and snow. It was likely that it was hiding in this world of ice and snow and would appear again once it recovered. At this time, it was just that how many years this period of time would be, Long Chen had no idea. Gradually, the half of Long Chen's body that was frozen into ice gradually recovered. Long Chen first rested for a while. When he felt that it was enough, Long Chen condensed the 9 ice dragons. Looking at the cold aura released by the 9 ice dragons as they danced, Long Chen could not help but be overjoyed. From now on, the power of the heavenly dragon's skill would reach a higher level. In future battles, Long Chen would be able to use the 9 ice dragons. The power of surprise. The 9 ice dragons gathered together and formed a passageway in front of Long Chen, opening a path for Long Chen. "Let's go," Long Chen said to Long Yuan with a smile. The aura of the 9 ice dragons originated from the ice soul. The ice soul was the strongest existence in the world of ice and snow. With the 9 golden dragons opening the path, Long Chen naturally did not have to expend any effort to advance. Soon, Long Chen gradually approached the end of the world of ice and snow. The ruins of the spirit realm in front of him also gradually became clear. At this moment, Long Chen sensed a strange primordial fluctuation. Suddenly, Long Chen saw a black figure dashing out from the ice and snow at an astonishing speed. Around him, Long Chen saw a black figure dashing out from the ice and snow at an astonishing speed. There was a violent fluctuation in Hong Meng around him. As the fluctuation progressed, he immediately left Long Chen behind. This figure was actually able to ignore the various attacks in this world of ice and snow, and was also able to run so fast. How strong was his strength? Thinking of this, Long Chen could not help but feel a little scared. "Long Chen, this person is an expert." At the moment when the figure passed by, Long Mu's low voice sounded in the dragon palace. To be able to make Long Mu, a person who had seen the world, so amazed, one could imagine what realm this person's true strength was. Chapter 1663. In this world of ice and snow, the sudden appearance of this scene, coupled with Long Mu's solemn reaction, immediately piqued Long Chen's interest. Long Chen immediately moved his body and withdrew the 9 ice dragons at the same time, merging himself with the world of ice and snow. At the same time, Long Yuan also learned from Long Chen, restraining his own aura and hiding in this world of ice and snow. After hiding his body well, Long Chen began to approach the figure that had appeared before. Soon, at the edge of this world of ice and snow, Long Chen actually found the figure. Long Chen was surprised that there was only one person who had passed by Long Chen, but now, Long Chen saw 2 people here. Moreover, the strength of these 2 people was obviously much higher than Long Chen's, and even higher than everyone Long Chen had seen in this spiritual realm relic. Long Chen and Long Yuan hid on the side, watching the 2 figures from afar. "What kind of strength is this? I can't even detect it at all." Long Chen's expression was solemn. Although he released some of his consciousness, it was turned into ashes before he could get within 10 feet of the 2 people. Long Chen couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Thinking about Zhou Xiaoxiao, who he had met before, Long Chen didn't have such a feeling. In the Dragon Palace, Long Mu's voice was low and dignified. "These 2 people are very likely to be Hong Meng Tianjing." Hearing the words Hong Meng Tianjing, Long Chen couldn't help but feel touched. In this spiritual realm relic, or even in this small spiritual realm, as long as one had the strength of Hong Meng Yuan Jia, one could come and go freely in this small spiritual realm. Ordinary forces wouldn't take the initiative to provoke them. But the 2 people in front of him actually had the strength of Hong Meng Tianjing. In this way, the strange phenomenon that Long Chen had seen before could be explained. Presumably, only people from Hongmeng Tianjing could walk in this world of ice and snow as if there was nothing around them, and at such a fast speed. At this moment, the two figures finally spoke after being silent for a long time. "Were you discovered by others?" one of the taller figures asked. The other one was the person who had passed by Long Chen. From afar, this person looked very strong, but his appearance was that of a middle-aged man. "He must be an old man." The old man said, "Even if they were discovered, do you think that those people would still be alive?" As soon as he said this, the figure who had asked the question laughed and said, "You really didn't show any mercy to those people from Hongmeng Polar region. Have you forgotten that it was the people from Hongmeng Polar region who let you in?" The old man calmed down and said, "You can't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame the guy who changed the rules of entering the small spiritual realm. You can't blame us for doing something here." Well, let's get down to business. How's the information I asked you to find out?" the tall figure asked. The old man nodded and said, "There's no problem. We can take care of them on the ancient battlefield. Everything is going according to plan. These people from Hongmeng Polar region are still foolishly looking for the spiritual treasure opportunities that they have been dreaming of. Even if we do something, no one will pay attention to it." Hearing this, the tall figure nodded and said, "That's good. When all our allies are here, it's almost time to take action. By the way, has that person contacted you recently?" The old man shook his head and said, "No," as if he had evaporated. "When he looked for me, it seemed that all my whereabouts were under his control. If I wanted to find him, even if I turned the small spiritual realm upside down, I wouldn't be able to find any clues." The tall figure sighed and said, "That's good. We can plan our affairs to our heart's content. As long as those people from Hongmeng Polar region outside don't notice, we can carry out the plan with peace of mind." Hearing this, Long Chen muttered in his heart. He was confused and gathered his thoughts. Why were these two people from Hongmeng Tianjing hiding here and secretly talking to each other? Moreover, in their words, some Hongmeng Polar region's tone was extremely disdainful. Could it be that these two people were not from Hongmeng Polar region? Then, who were they? What was their plan? Who was the person that they were talking about? Just as Long Chen was confused, the two people started talking again. The old man said, "I heard that several spiritual treasures have appeared on the ancient battlefield. Moreover, the people who obtain them are not simple people. Will they be a threat to us?" The tall figure replied, "There's no need to worry. I've already inquired about it. It's just two ancient swords that have appeared. The people who obtain them are also two children. Hongmeng's consolidation realm strength. They're not bad at all." The old man smiled and said, "That's good. This small spiritual realm that only appears once every 1,000 years. If I can really control it, then I'm really looking forward to it." Hearing this, Long Chen finally reacted. Such arrogant words. Long Chen thought carefully and could not help but feel a little scared. What was the purpose of these two people? Although Long Chen wanted to figure out what these two people were talking about, Long Chen thought about it and gave up on this idea because of his own strength. These two people were Hongmeng Tianjing experts. With Long Chen's strength as a Hongmeng's consolidation realm strength, he was probably not enough to deal with them. Thinking of this, Long Chen did not intend to get involved. Even if it was related to the Hongmeng Polar region and some war outside, Long Chen was not from the Hongmeng Polar region. He was too lazy to intervene. Even if he did, it would not be of much use. Just as Long Chen was about to leave, the Hongmeng around him suddenly jumped. This time, Long Chen was in danger. Who is it? The old man immediately noticed the jumping Hongmeng and immediately turned to look in Long Chen's direction. "This luck of mine, no one can beat me," Long Chen complained. He immediately urged the Hongmeng around him to escape in this world of ice and snow, and ran wildly in a direction. The old man wasn't a simple person either. He also moved and ran in the direction where Long Chen had fled. It seemed that the old man wanted to kill everyone who discovered him, as he had said before. Long Chen naturally knew about this and ran as fast as he could. Long Yuan's speed was slightly slower. Long Chen could not stand by and watch. He immediately urged Long Yuan with his own breath and forced Long Yuan to run with him. Seeing that the old man was getting closer and closer to him, Long Chen was terrified. If he was caught by the old man, there would be no chance of survival. After all, the old man was Hongmeng Tianjing. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1664. The old man also activated the Hongmeng around him, eager to capture Long Chen and Long Yuan. Long Chen directly entered the world of ice and snow without looking back. Immediately after, Long Chen condensed 9 ice dragons. Just like before, Long Chen used the ice dragons to create a passage in the world of ice and snow. His figure was as fast as lightning. Even though the old man's reaction was fast, facing Long Chen's somewhat unreasonable escape method, it was really difficult for him to continue. Very quickly, under this kind of tugging, Long Chen and Long Yuan's figures slipped away under the old man's eyes. The old man was very angry, but he also felt somewhat helpless. After escaping for a while, Long Chen once again arrived at the center of the vast world of ice and snow. But now, Long Chen was no longer afraid of the various kinds of attacks in this world of ice and snow. After all, Long Chen had now devoured more than half of the most terrifying ice soul in this world of ice and snow. With the protection of the 9 ice dragons, Long Chen could be considered safe. After resting together with Long Yuan for a while, he recovered some of the Hongmeng's aura that he had used up in the escape. Long Chen looked at the tribal ruins at the end of the world of ice and snow. That was the purpose of this trip. Previously, although the two of them were planning something big that could not see the light of day, Long Chen did not care about it at all. After resting, Long Chen once again headed towards the end of the world of ice and snow. Long Yuan followed behind Long Chen, not slacking off at all. Soon, under the protection of the 9 ice dragons, Long Chen and Long Yuan quickly arrived at the edge of the world of ice and snow. In a moment, the complete tribal ruins appeared in front of Long Chen's eyes. It was strange to say that these tribal ruins were all in pieces and were not connected to each other. From afar, it looked like more than 10 small tribes gathered together to form a group of tribes. However, this place did not look like a world of ice and snow at all. Even the drifting snowflakes were scattered. Obviously, the world of ice and snow formation was only used to protect the tribes here. It had no effect on the tribes here. With the protection of such a powerful formation like the world of ice and snow, the tribe was quite safe. Compared to the tribes in the periphery of the spirit world ruins, this place was much better. Standing at the periphery of the tribal groups, Long Chen looked around. He could vaguely see that there were some human figures moving about outside the tribal groups. It could be assumed that these people were from the large tribes that arrived here before Long Chen. With the strength of the Hongmeng Yuan Jia experts in the large tribes, it would not be difficult for them to survive the previous ice and snow. Therefore, these figures that floated in Long Chen's eyes probably had the strength of the Hongmeng Yuan Jia. None of them were simple people. Long Yuan looked at the tribal groups and was stunned for a while. Then, he said, "Master, are we going to the tribal ruins next?" Long Chen nodded and said, "Although that is the case, where should we start is a problem." "What do you mean? Are there places in these tribes that we can't go?" Long Yuan asked with a frown. Long Chen said, "Think about it. We have to go through such a powerful world of ice and snow formation when we come to this tribal group. In these tribal groups, there must be a great world of ice and snow formation. Look at these figures moving about in the tribes. They must be blocked by these world of ice and snow formation, which is why they are outside. Since we are here, we naturally have to find a tribe that can break the world of ice and snow formation." Long Yuan seemed to understand. He shook his head and said, "Master, according to what you said, you have found a tribe that can break the world of ice and snow formation?" Long Chen laughed. Under Long Yuan's sincere gaze, Long Chen said slowly, "No." Hearing this, Long Yuan was suddenly speechless. Long Chen also felt a little embarrassed, so he said, "But it's okay. As the saying goes, when the car reaches the mountain, there will be a way. Since we are here, let's go and try. Let's start from the nearest tribe and visit them one by one. We will definitely find a tribe that can enter." As soon as he finished speaking, Long Chen greeted Long Yuan. Then, the two of them leaped into the air and flew toward a tribe that was a distance away from them. Just like what Long Chen said, many tribes had a deeper layer of world of ice and snow formation seals. Looking at the Hongmeng Yuan Jia experts surrounding them, who seemed to be at their wits' end, Long Chen didn't want to bring bad luck to himself. After going around in circles for nearly an hour, Long Chen finally found the ruins of the tribe that he had described, the place where he could break the defensive formation. Strictly speaking, this wasn't the seal that Long Chen broke. When Long Chen came here, the seal around the tribe's ruins was already very weak. It was probably because no one had maintained it for 10,000 years. Long Chen and Long Yuan landed in front of the tribe's ruins. Looking around, the tribe's ruins were made of semi-natural stones piled together to form a few buildings. At the outermost part of the tribe's ruins, there was a huge stone tablet. On the stone tablet, there were a few words that Long Chen couldn't understand. Long Chen asked Long Yuan and found out that this was an ancient language that belonged to the polar region of Hongmeng. As for the meaning of these words, the two of them studied it for a long time. Finally, they determined that the meaning of the last two words was equivalent to the word tribe. As for the first few words, Long Chen and Long Yuan looked at each other and smiled. They didn't pay any more attention to it. Just like this, Long Chen and Long Yuan entered the tribe's ruins together. After entering, they found out that there were already people who had entered the tribe's ruins before them. Obviously, these people also found the tribe's ruins without the protection of the world of ice and snow formation. They all wanted to come in and look for some treasures. As soon as Long Chen and Long Yuan appeared, they attracted the attention of many people who were already in the tribe. When these people saw Long Chen and Long Yuan, they all put on a surprised expression. It seemed that these people had sensed the strength of Long Chen and Long Yuan. Therefore, they had such great doubts that Long Chen and Long Yuan could reach here with the strength of Hongmeng's consolidation realm. These two people are quite capable. I really don't know how they passed through the world of ice and snow. Could it be that these two Hongmeng consolidation realm boys have some treasures in their hands? That makes sense. Since they are Hongmeng consolidation realm, we have to investigate carefully. The eyes of these people suddenly became cunning, like that of a bandit. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1665. Long Chen was too lazy to pay attention to these people who were staring at them. He hurriedly led Long Yuan into the depths of the ruins. Those who were eyeing Long Chen covetously saw this scene and hesitated. They thought about it and thought that Long Chen, a consolidation realm cultivator from Hongmeng, was able to pass the test of the world of ice and snow. He must have some unique means that belonged to him. Therefore, these people naturally did not dare to act rashly against Long Chen. The outside of the ruins had basically been searched by others. If they continued to search, they would not be able to find any spirit treasures. Therefore, Long Chen set his target on a huge stone hall in the middle of the tribe. Walking outside the stone hall, Long Chen looked at some people who were also surrounding the stone hall. He released his mind slightly and tried to detect the strength of these people. Soon, Long Chen came to the conclusion that the strength of these people were all Hongmeng Yuan Jia. Among these people, there were obviously a few who were outstanding. They occupied the best positions around the stone hall. The others were also respectful to these people and did not dare to provoke them. Feeling Long Chen's gaze, these strong people also looked at Long Chen. Then, a trace of disdain appeared on each of their faces. According to Long Chen, a consolidation realm cultivator from Hongmeng was indeed not worthy of these people's attention. At this time, Long Chen, Long Yuan, who was beside Long Yuan, said, "Master, something is wrong." Long Chen frowned and said, "What's wrong?" Long Yuan looked at the stone hall that was surrounded by people and said, there is no protection outside the stone hall at all. There is not even a trace of Hongmeng. Why are these people waiting here? Upon hearing this, Long Chen fell into deep thought. Indeed, it was just as Long Yuan had said. The outer perimeter of the tribal ruins from before was guarded by various formations of various sizes. Although the formations were not very powerful, they more or less played a certain role. The stone hall in front of them was obviously more important than the other ruins. There should be more spirit treasures and opportunities inside. However, this stone hall did not have any spirit arrays protecting it. Moreover, in the face of such a stone hall without a spirit array protecting it, these people from Hongmeng Yuan Jie actually waited outside obediently. They did not seem to want to enter to seek opportunities. Long Chen was very confused for a moment. However, Long Chen did not think that these people wanted to repair here, or that the stone hall had been searched. Based on the covetous gazes of these people, Long Chen was sure that no one had entered the stone hall before. The reason why they did not dare to rashly advance was probably because they were afraid of some kind of hidden object. What exactly was it that could actually make so many primordial origin realm experts shrink back and not dare to move forward in the slightest? Even the strong people from Hongmeng Yuan Jie repeatedly probed the surroundings of the stone hall, but they did not intend to enter. From time to time, a few people who had just arrived would look eager to try the stone hall. However, before they could get close to the stone hall, they would leave the stone hall with their tails between their legs. Their expressions were filled with extreme fear. Long Chen and Long Yuan looked at this scene. The two of them stared at each other for a long time. They did not understand what had happened. Perhaps it was because Long Chen and Long Yuan were only in the Hongmeng consolidation realm, so they might not be able to perceive some things that only strong people from Hongmeng Yuan Jie could sense. These things were especially important. At this time, Long Mu, who was in the Dragon Palace, said, "Long Chen, don't act rashly. I feel that there is a terrible existence under the stone hall. These people here are no match for this existence." After hearing this, Long Chen was stunned. Obviously, he was curious about this existence. Looking at the stone hall standing quietly in front of him, Long Chen was very puzzled. He said, "Then what is this thing? Is it a hidden formation?" "No, it's not." Long Mu shook his head with certainty and said, "It's a very strange fluctuation. I can only sense a little, but I'm sure that the existence under the stone hall is definitely not something you can provoke. You have to know that such an important place like the stone hall must have some protection. Moreover, I'm faintly sure that the thing under the stone hall is a living thing." After hearing this, Long Chen's expression immediately became serious. If what Long Mu said was true, that the hidden existence was a living thing, then no matter what it was, Long Chen would not be able to stop it. The spiritual realm ruins had existed for tens of thousands of years. If it was a living thing, it must have lived here for tens of thousands of years. After tens of thousands of years, even a stone would be able to gather spirit. Long Chen was ready to fight. The Hongmeng around them also condensed. In this way, if there were any changes, Long Chen would be able to react immediately. Long Yuan also condensed the heavenly demon dragon spear. The Hongmeng around him also strengthened him. He was ready to fight. Rumble, just when Long Chen and Long Yuan were ready, the ground outside the stone hall began to shake. At the same time, a strong Hongmeng aura filled the air around the stone hall. With a slight sense, one could feel the violent power in the Hongmeng aura. With such a strange movement, the few powerful people immediately leaped up and pounced towards the entrance of the stone hall. Beside them, a huge Hongmeng fluctuation fluctuated. Obviously, everyone was very serious. Clang! At this moment, the stone hall began to shake. The Hongmeng aura from before became even more violent. Soon, almost in the blink of an eye, a huge crack appeared on the ground in front of the stone hall. Then, a huge blue figure jumped out from the crack and directly jumped in front of the few powerful people who were charging towards the stone hall. Bang! An enormous Hongmeng collision sound rang out. Those few powerful experts were directly struck by the wild and violent Hongmeng aura that was brought about by the blue light figure when it leapt out. None of them were able to withstand this attack, and their bodies were sent flying one after another. At this moment, the huge blue figure finally revealed its entire body. When Longchen saw this scene, he could not help but open his mouth wide. "What is this?" Longchen exclaimed. Looking at the huge fangs, the icy blue fur, and feeling the coldness around him, Longmu said in a slightly sluggish manner, "Icy Ghost Wolf. Please remember the domain name of this book." Mobile reading website. Chapter 1666. Ice Spirit Ghost Wolf? What's that? Long Chen's expression was solemn as he looked at the huge figure with an imposing aura. He did not dare to slack off at all. Long Mu said in amazement, "I never thought that such a thing would exist in this world." "This is too amazing." Long Chen was anxious and quickly said, "Quickly tell me the origin of this ice spirit ghost wolf. What's its realm?" Long Mu shook his head and said, "The ice spirit ghost wolf's predecessor is the ice spirit wolf. It's a relatively common Hongmeng demonic beast in the cold lands. It's not very strong. Most of them are at the Hongmeng chaotic prime realm. Only the ice spirit wolf king can reach the Hongmeng consolidation realm." "Then how did they become ice spirit ghost wolves?" Long Chen asked. Long Mu continued, "It's strange. All the ice spirit wolves that can become the ice spirit wolf king are at the Hongmeng consolidation realm. However, ordinary ice spirit wolves can't reach the Hongmeng consolidation realm no matter what. In other words, the reason why the ice spirit wolf king can reach the Hongmeng consolidation realm is because the ice spirit wolf's bloodline has mutated. This was discovered by humans tens of thousands of years ago. In order to master the technique of this mutated bloodline and increase their strength, many people began to hunt the ice spirit wolves with the intention of finding the mutated bloodline in the ice spirit wolf, which can become the ice spirit wolf king. However, the mutated bloodline of the ice spirit wolf is 1 in 10,000. It's really difficult to find one. Due to the hunting of the ice spirit wolves by humans, the ice spirit wolves were finally enraged. Therefore, under the leadership of the ice spirit wolf king, the ice spirit wolves began to retaliate against humans. It was in that battle that humans captured the rare ice spirit wolf king. Then, they discovered the secret of the mutated bloodline of the ice spirit wolves. Later, those who obtained this secret were disappointed to discover that the mutated bloodline of the ice spirit wolves could only be used on the ice spirit wolves. Humans had no way to mutate the bloodline like the ice spirit wolves, so they could not increase their strength. Therefore, humans began to capture the ice spirit wolves that were just born. They used their own methods to force the mutated bloodline of the ice spirit wolves. They wanted to turn them into demonic beasts that. However, humans didn't expect that the ice spirit ghost ice spirit their bloodline, so they had no choice but to kill the mutated ice spirit wolf. It was also at this time that something surprising happened. Due to the ice spirit wolves' bloodline mutated due to human interference, after the ice spirit wolves died, although their spiritual bodies disappeared, the ice spirit wolves' souls remained in their bodies and were unable to leave. Because of this, humans realized that the dead ice spirit wolves also possessed the strength that they had when they were alive. Moreover, due to the ice spirit wolves not having a spiritual body, they could naturally be tamed by humans. What was even more shocking was that the dead ice spirit wolves had very little control over their bodies. In other words, these ice spirit wolves could absorb most of the elixirs without feeling any pain. This kind of ice spirit wolf was called the ice spirit ghost wolf. Because of this, humans began to cultivate the ice spirit ghost wolves without restraint. Some powerful tribes would even cultivate the ice spirit ghost wolves to the 9th level of the Hongmeng Yuan Jie's strength in order to protect the safety of the entire tribe. Under such wanton hunting, the ice spirit wolf tribe was quickly on the verge of extinction. In my memory, there was no trace of the ice spirit wolf tribe in the 9 polar regions. After listening to Long Mu's explanation, Long Chen had a general understanding of the ice spirit ghost wolf in front of him. Looking at this violent and powerful ice spirit demonic wolf, Longchen thought that it was just an inanimate object. He felt that it was somewhat comical. However, regarding the ice spirit demonic wolf's strength, Longchen didn't dare to casually guess. At least, based on the ice spirit demonic wolf's ability to send 3 experts from the Hongmeng Yuanjia flying when it first appeared, the ice spirit demonic wolf's strength was definitely not something that Longchen could provoke. In front of the stone temple, the ice spirit demonic wolf leaped out from the ground and firmly blocked the entrance of the stone temple. It stared fiercely at those who wanted to enter the stone temple. At this moment, Longchen finally got a clear look at the ice spirit demonic wolf's appearance. The ice spirit demonic wolf's body was close to 50 feet long. Its entire body was the color of blue ice, and its fur faintly emitted a biting chill. Its 2 fangs were wrapped in Hongmeng qi, and from time to time, they would pierce out, causing the surrounding air to vibrate. A dead ice spirit demonic wolf actually still possessed the spiritual consciousness to protect the stone temple. What exactly did the people who created the ice spirit demonic wolf do tens of thousands of years ago? Long Mu spoke again. The ice spirit demonic wolf has stayed here for tens of thousands of years. I believe that its strength has already been depleted. Even though the ice spirit demonic wolf's appearance previously intimidated a few Hongmeng Yuanjia people, its vital energy and blood are already severely depleted. Every time it uses a technique, its strength will be depleted. Therefore, there is nothing to be afraid of. Hearing this, Longchen's heart was slightly at ease. If the ice spirit demonic wolf still possessed the strength that it had previously displayed, Longchen and the rest who were surrounding the stone temple would have to search for other places as soon as possible. Everyone, don't panic. The ice spirit demonic wolf's vital energy has already been depleted by more than half. As long as we work together to deplete its strength, we will be able to defeat it quickly. At this moment, one of the people who was previously sent flying by the ice spirit demonic wolf shouted. Evidently, he had also seen the ice spirit demonic wolf's weakness. That's right. Everyone, let's attack together. The few of us will strive to kill it in one blow. After we have dealt with the ice spirit demonic wolf, everyone will be qualified to enter the stone temple. Another person shouted. Hearing these 2 people's words, the surrounding Hongmeng Yuanjia experts were eager to give it a try. However, some of them took a few steps back. Evidently, they had other plans. Longchen, this ice spirit demonic wolf may be of some use to you. Your 9 ice dragons now possess the power of the ice soul origin. However, they have not been able to condense the power of the ice soul. To put it bluntly, they lack the support of the bloodline. However, the ice spirit demonic wolf in front of us possesses a powerful ice bloodline. If you can absorb it, it may allow your 9 ice dragons to possess greater power, Long Mu said slowly. Hearing this, Longchen's eyes lit up. He said, is that so? Then I have to give it a try. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1667. Longchen thought to himself. He'd just arrived at the most ordinary place in the spirit dimension ruins, yet he'd already encountered so many primordial origin world realm experts. There were even experts at the 5th level of the primordial origin world realm and above. If Longchen wanted to go deeper into the spirit dimension ruins in the future, how many experts would he encounter? If he wanted to snatch the spiritual treasures and opportunities that Longchen coveted right under the noses of these people, he would need a few trump cards. It was absolutely impossible to rely on his strong physique and explosive power. Previously, the 9 golden dragons had swallowed the ice source ice spirit to become 9 ice dragons. This was Longchen's preparation for the future. Now, as Long Mu said, there was something that could strengthen his strength. Longchen would not let it go no matter what. Long Mu said, looking at the way these people are fighting, I think they don't know the secret of the ice spirit wolf's bloodline. However, those experts might not know. Longchen, seize the opportunity and try to get as many ice spirit wolf bloodlines as possible before the ice spirit demonic wolf is destroyed. Longchen nodded and began to plan. Although those experts were strong, it was obvious that they were all in their own camps. Their ultimate goal was to enter the stone temple guarded by the ice spirit demonic wolf. At this time, no one would pay attention to Long Chen's movements. In this way, Long Chen would have the opportunity to make his move. At this time, the expert who had previously called for everyone moved and shouted, "Move!" As soon as his voice fell, those Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts who had been prepared previously moved toward the ice spirit demonic wolf. Their bodies were wrapped in a vigorous Hong Meng aura. In a short time, they transformed into a variety of attacks and bombarded the ice spirit demonic wolf's body. With a group of people taking the lead, the rest of the people were unwilling to wait. After all, they were very eager to enter the stone temple. Moreover, almost all of those who came here were Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts. There was nothing to be afraid of, so they immediately attacked together. Dozens of Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts fought at the same time. This kind of momentum was indeed vast. Oh whoa! After the first wave of attacks hit its body, the ice spirit demonic wolf immediately roared. Its huge blue icy body shook violently. Then, a cold Hong Meng aura swept out from its body and directly rushed toward those who were attacking it. Clang clang clang. The muffled sounds of Hong Meng explosions rang out in front of the stone temple. At the same time, the ice spirit demonic wolf did not wait for its death. It directly took 2 steps forward, intending to violently collide with the people who were attacking it. For a moment, the ice spirit demonic wolf and the Hong Meng Yuan Jia experts began to fight with their lives on the line. Waves of fierce Hong Meng aura exploded. All kinds of attacks were displayed, and the battle was very intense. Long Chen stood in the distance and quietly watched the scene. Long Chen's strength was at the Hong Meng consolidation realm, so he did not make a move, nor did he say anything. Although the ice spirit demonic wolf still had the upper hand in the battle, it steadily blocked those who were rushing over. From time to time, it would also repel a few people who were closer to the ice spirit demonic wolf to show its strength. However, Long Chen understood that although the ice spirit demonic wolf was still ferocious and violent, it was after all a dead body. After tens of thousands of years of melting, the ice spirit demonic wolf's strength had long been greatly reduced. This battle that seemed to have the upper hand was actually just the ice spirit demonic wolf's final radiance. Perhaps, it would not be long before this ice spirit demonic wolf, which had been in the spiritual realm ruins for tens of thousands of years, completely disappeared under the siege of everyone. Fortunately, most of these people wantonly used their own techniques in the battle with the ice spirit demonic wolf. They did not touch the ice spirit demonic wolf's bloodline at all. In this way, the ice spirit demonic wolf could persist for a much longer time, giving Long Chen a greater chance of success. Gradually, as the battle progressed, the ice spirit demonic wolf finally showed signs of fatigue. The Hong Meng aura that it bombarded was much weaker than before, and the icy aura around it could no longer stop the people who attacked it. Similarly, under the joint attack of the crowd, the ice soul ghost wolf's body was also riddled with holes. Its seemingly lifeless body actually exploded like a dried corpse, completely lifeless. Seeing that the ice spirit demonic wolf had reached the end of its road, the few powerhouses from before actually moved at the same time. They directly condensed Hong Meng aura that was much more vigorous and violent than before and directly charged towards the ice spirit demonic wolf. From the looks of it, these few powerhouses also knew that the ice spirit demonic wolf had a mutated bloodline in its body. As long as they could control this bloodline, even if they could not use it for themselves, just the tyrannical strength of this bloodline alone would be of great use in the future. 4 to 5 people rushed over at the same time. During this period, they actually harassed the others, presumably wanting to monopolize the ice spirit demonic wolf's bloodline power. Do it! At this moment, Long Chen, who had been standing at the side, suddenly said in his heart. Before his voice died away, Long Chen directly moved and charged towards the ice spirit demonic wolf that was about to die. Seeing Long Chen suddenly rush out, the 5 people from before were slightly shocked. Soon after, they all frowned and looked angrily at Long Chen, who had suddenly interfered. These people probably did not expect that this Hong Meng consolidation stage brat, who had been standing at a distance and did not dare to make a move, would actually come out at this crucial moment and engage in a business of snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Just as the 5 people were thinking about this, Long Chen's figure actually rushed over at lightning speed. Within a few breaths' time, he had directly jumped onto the ice spirit demonic wolf's body. Long Chen was about to proceed to the next step, which was to kill the ice spirit demonic wolf and obtain the mutated bloodline in its body. The 5 people did not continue to be entangled. Immediately, they gathered all the strength in their bodies. When Long Chen jumped onto the ice spirit demonic wolf's body, they attacked together and used all kinds of attacking methods at the place where Long Chen's feet landed. They probably wanted to place Long Chen and the ice spirit demonic wolf together so that the 5 of them could compete. From the 5 people's point of view, Long Chen's strength was only at the Hong Meng consolidation stage. Even if he had trump cards, in the face of absolute strength, they would not be able to withstand a single blow. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1668. Where did this reckless guy come from? How dare he be so arrogant when he's only at the consolidation stage in Hong Meng? Someone shouted. Evidently, they were very displeased with Long Chen's action of interfering in their affairs. Hearing this, Long Chen smiled faintly. He thought to himself, do these 5 people really treat the Ice Soul Ghost Wolf as their own? Long Chen had managed to dodge all of the attacks from the 5 of them. However, the Ice Spirit Ghost Wolf's aura had been completely dispersed by the aura of the attacks. With a loud bang, the enormous body of the Ice Soul Ghost Wolf fell to the ground. Long Chen ignored them. Taking advantage of the fact that the 5 people had yet to approach the Ice Soul Wolf, he quickly condensed the Hong Meng around him. The 9 ice dragons whizzed out and rushed straight into the Ice Soul Wolf's body. Long Chen focused his mind and controlled the 9 golden dragons to wantonly devour the remaining mutated blood in the Ice Soul Wolf's body. Due to Long Chen's actions, the Ice Soul Wolf's body, which had fallen to the ground, began to tremble. The icy aura around its body rose to its peak. Especially after the 9 ice dragons entered its body, the Hong Meng fluctuations emitted from the Ice Soul Wolf's body became even more intense. In the span of 2 breaths, the Ice Soul Wolf's body, which was previously incomparably sturdy, became extremely thin and weak. As for the 9 ice dragons, after devouring all of the mutated blood, they once again condensed an even more powerful icy aura. After circling in the air for a few rounds, Long Chen withdrew them. On Long Chen's side, after devouring the blood in the Ice Soul Wolf's body, Long Chen could feel that the power of the 9 ice dragons had increased by a few notches. Thinking about it, if Long Chen were to face an expert from Hong Meng Yuan Jia in the future, even if he did not have the assistance of the Hong Meng Lake, he would still be able to use the 9 ice dragons to forcefully seal the opponent's domain. The 5 of them had never imagined that Long Chen would act so quickly. Although they did not know what kind of technique the 9 ice dragons were, the 5 of them understood that all the mutated blood in the Ice Soul Ghost Wolf's body had been completely devoured by Long Chen when they saw the Ice Soul Ghost Wolf's corpse lying on the ground, which was very different from the original one. At this moment, the 5 people's faces were filled with anger. The person who had previously shouted at Long Chen said, "Who are you? How dare you do such a thing? You're really lawless." After watching the whole thing unfold, the people at the side who did not understand at first gradually understood the ins and outs of the whole thing. At this moment, they finally understood that they had fought so hard with the Ice Soul Wolf for so long, but in the end, they were just working for someone else. Moreover, they were even more curious about what Long Chen had snatched from the 5 experts. Long Yuan did not hesitate. At that moment, he waved the demonic dragon spear in his hand and an extremely fierce aura burst out from his body. He rushed straight to Long Chen's side and cast an angry look at everyone around him. It could be considered that he was protecting Long Chen. Long Chen looked at the 5 experts who were extremely angry and said with a smile, "Lawless. Then I'd like to ask, who's the law here? Who's the god?" the Ice Soul Wolf was originally in existence from tens of thousands of years ago. It's an ownerless object. I just got what I wanted before you guys. Is this lawless? Long Chen's words really did not give that person any face. Hearing this, another burly man among the five said, "What you said is true." However, the Ice Spirit Ghost Wolf was killed because everyone worked together. It's a little unreasonable for you to monopolize all the benefits in the Ice Spirit Ghost Wolf's body. That's right. When the person who was refuted by Long Chen heard this, he immediately shouted, "Moreover, we didn't blame you because you're a Hong Meng Consolidation Realm expert. Even if you didn't do anything when we besieged the Ice Soul Wolf, we didn't blame you. But now, you're monopolizing all the benefits. What do you want us to do?" As soon as he finished speaking, the people around him began to whisper. Long Chen was also helpless. In this spiritual world ruin, without a realm to represent one's strength, one would be looked down upon wherever one went. If Long Chen's strength was at the Hong Meng Yuan Jie today, he would probably not encounter such a situation. Listening to the discussions of the people around him, Long Chen also found out that the burly person was called Yang Yan. He was from the large Baiyang tribe, and the person who was refuted by Long Chen was called Ai Hua. He was from the Ai Ming tribe. As for the other experts, they were called Dong Chaoming, Huazhan, and Shan Tianqi. These people all came from large tribes, and their strength was at least at the 5th level of the Hong Meng Yuan Jie. Although these people's strength was high, the way they conducted themselves was not very good. Originally, things were first come, first served. If they did not obtain it, then it was too much to say that they were inferior to Long Chen. It was really nonsense. However, Long Chen could not say anything. If he angered these people, then Long Chen would be in danger for the sake of a mutated bloodline. It was not worth it. "I'm sorry, everyone. I, Long Chen, obtained the item with my strength. Naturally, there is no reason for me to hand it over. Now that the Ice Spirit Wolf is dead, there is no one guarding the Stone Hall. If you don't want to go in and investigate, then this time, don't blame me for being the first to arrive," Long Chen slowly said. With these words, Long Chen firmed up his attitude and said that he would absolutely not compromise with these people. Secondly, Long Chen very cleverly drew everyone's attention to the Stone Hall. After all, these people's actions from the beginning to deal with the Ice Spirit Wolf was to be able to enter the Stone Hall. The current episode made everyone forget about this matter. After listening to Long Chen's words, everyone looked at the Stone Hall. Only then did they realize that their goal was to enter the Stone Hall. As for the bloodline and the Ice Spirit Wolf, many people did not know from the beginning, let alone coveting it. Soon, everyone moved closer to the Stone Hall, completely ignoring Long Chen's matter. Seeing this situation, the 5 experts were somewhat helpless. After all, compared to the mutated bloodline in Long Chen's hands, the opportunity in the Stone Hall was more important. Just like this, the 5 experts had no choice but to give in to Long Chen's actions. After that, they could not wait to move closer to the Stone Hall, wanting to seek the opportunity in the Stone Hall. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1669. Just like that, Long Chen cleverly resolved a dangerous crisis. As the door of the Stone Hall opened, people finally forgot about Long Chen snatching the bloodline of the Ice Spirit Ghost Wolf. Very quickly, they began to search for the opportunity spirit in the Stone Hall. Treasure. Long Chen looked at the excited crowd and recalled his previous experience. He could not help but sigh. Strength could indeed bring convenience to people. Similarly, without the support of strength, no one would be able to look at him. Just one glance. Long Yuan stood beside Long Chen for a long time. Looking at the increasing number of people entering the Stone Hall, he became somewhat anxious and said, "Master, should we go in?" Long Chen nodded and said, "Of course. Since this stone temple was opened with great difficulty, we naturally have to go and get some benefits. I want to see what kind of amazing things are in the tribal ruins here." Therefore, the two of them hurriedly followed behind the crowd and entered the mysterious stone hall. Due to the lack of light in the stone hall was very dark. When they reached the depths, they could not see anything at all. It was not until a few people used some unknown technique to ignite flames around the stone hall that people were able to see the scene in the stone hall clearly. The stone hall was very spacious. The pillars were connected one after another. It was as if the stone hall had formed a maze. The people walked through the pillars for a long time, and their expressions changed from eager to get information to restless and disorderly. In this stone hall, other than the pillars, it was difficult to find anything else. It was as if this stone hall was originally empty. Or it could be said that this stone hall seemed to have been occupied by someone else. What kind of place is this? There is such a powerful protection, but in the end, we can't even find a single strand of hair. Could it be that it has already been searched by someone else? At this time, some people in the crowd could not suppress their restless thoughts and cursed. It's impossible. Impossible. Before the Ice Soul Ghost Wolf left, no one would come in. Even if there was such a possibility, they wouldn't have searched so thoroughly. Someone replied. His tone was also filled with an incomparably restless emotion. Could it be that there is no treasure left in this stone hall? Longchen muttered to himself. Indeed, other than this explanation, there was no better reason. Long Yuan said, Master, I think we should still go deeper. This stone hall is so big, and it is like a maze. It is probably very difficult to figure out where the depths of this stone hall are. Longchen nodded and said, All right. However, we have to be careful at all times. The cleaner this stone hall is, the more I feel that there will be something hidden in the depths. Who knows when it will suddenly jump out? After all, I feel that. After all, those people from tens of thousands of years ago would not have allowed the Ice Spirit Ghost Wolf to guard such an empty stone hall. Although Longchen said this, he did not have much confidence in his heart. This kind of situation made him think of the ruins of the tribes that he had seen before, which were filled with numerous treasures and opportunities. In comparison, it was indeed a little abnormal. In this way, Longchen also broke away from the main group of the crowd and began to follow his thoughts, moving forward in this tangled and complicated stone hall. After going around for half a day, Longchen only remembered that he had gone around countless pillars, and finally arrived at the place where he met up with the main group. Looking at the helpless expressions of Yang Yan, Ai Hua, and the others who had been entangled with him before, Longchen also knew that these few experts were also helpless in front of this mysterious stone hall. Looking at the others, it was obvious that some people had already thought of retreating. Longchen released his mind and actually felt some seal aura in this stone hall. This made Longchen somewhat surprised. Since there was a seal aura, there must be something that was sealed. Then, what exactly was this? Shimiya had appeared in front of everyone. Yet, why was this stone hall so empty? However, since they had entered this place once, this group of people would not easily leave if they did not understand the mystery of this stone hall. After all, the outer seal of the other tribe ruins had not been removed. The group once again moved forward for a while. This time, there were finally some changes in the stone hall. Everyone felt as if they had been in a maze for a long time, and when they came out of the maze, they thought that something was wrong. The difference between this place and the scene when they first entered the stone hall was that there were far fewer of the densely packed pillars from before. What was imprinted in everyone's eyes was a lot thicker than before. A large pillar that required several people to encircle would need to be encircled. The appearance of this large pillar, without a doubt, attracted everyone's attention. This large pillar alone occupied a large space, quietly standing in this stone hall, like a giant god. When the group approached it, they made an even more shocking discovery. At the height of a person on this large pillar, there was actually a palm-sized seal that was firmly engraved on this pillar. Longchen sized up the seal on this pillar. Faintly, he seemed to have sensed that the seal aura that he had previously sensed was actually emitted from this seal. Not only Longchen, but the others in the stone hall also sensed the abnormality of the seal. Very quickly, Yang Yan and the others moved, scrambling to get closer to the seal. Something is strange. As Ai Hua spoke, he could not suppress his curiosity. He was the first to stand in front of the seal and tried to touch it. Longchen looked at Ai Hua's actions and frowned slightly. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. The facts proved that Longchen's feeling was right. Under everyone's gaze, just as Ai Hua's palm came into contact with the seal on the pillar, a strong and vigorous Hongmeng Qi wave exploded from the pillar at lightning speed. It blasted out with the force of covering one's ears, directly and steadily bombarding Ai Hua's body. Ai Hua received the force. Even with his strength at the 5th level of Hongmeng Yuan Jia, he did not have the slightest ability to react under the attack of this Hongmeng Qi wave. His entire body was immediately pushed nearly 5 feet away by this Hongmeng Qi wave, falling straight to the ground. Kaboom! The Hongmeng Qi wave dissipated, and the seal on the pillar faintly flickered with a trace of light. Immediately after, those who were originally standing closer to the pillar consciously took a few steps back. At this point, everyone more or less understood the mystery of this stone hall. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1670. Longchen and Long Yuan could not help but take a few steps back. Feeling the fierce Hongmeng aura emitted from the pillar, Longchen could not help but be shocked. To be able to use a Hongmeng aura to overturn someone with Ai Hua's strength, this pillar, if it unleashed its full strength, how terrifying would it be? In the stone hall, everyone cast their astonished gazes towards the mysterious pillar. To be more precise, they were looking at the mysterious seal on the pillar. What kind of power is this? Even Ai Hua could not resist it. Something is strange, something is strange. If that's the case, since there's something strange in this pillar, then there must be a soul treasure. For a moment, everyone in the stone hall began to discuss. As for Yang Yan, Dong Chaoming, Huazhan and the rest, intense shock surfaced on their faces. When Ai Hua was struck down by the sudden wave of Hongmeng Qi, they were standing beside Ai Hua and were shocked by the Hongmeng Qi. They were very clear about the power of the aura. After thinking about it carefully, Longchen had a bold idea. Thinking about it, all the soul treasures of this tribe were sealed in this pillar, and the seal on the pillar was a mechanism set up by those people to protect it. Seal the formation. At this moment, Ai Hua, who was originally sent flying by the Hongmeng aura, finally stood up after some rest. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, but it was obvious that he did not care at all. Ai Hua looked fiercely at the pillar that sent him flying, and could not help but clench his fists. He seemed to be eager to try on his clothes, and wanted to challenge it again. However, when Ai Hua saw the calm expressions of Yang Yandong, Chao Ming and the rest, he quickly reacted. The symbol on the pillar was definitely not some simple formation. If he were to recklessly head over, he might even lose his little life this time around. Here. But on the whole, everyone in the Stone Palace was happy about this discovery. After all, they had something to look forward to, which was much better than wandering around the Stone Palace like headless flies. After a brief silence in the stone hall, many people once again turned their gazes towards the mysterious pillar. Although their expressions were filled with unconcealable fervor, none of them dared to take the initiative to step forward and try it. After all, Ai Hua's example was still there. Even someone with his strength couldn't withstand it, let alone them. However, wasting time like this was not a solution. Looking at the treasure but not being able to obtain it was even more unbalanced than not having any treasure at all. Everyone! Listen to me! At this moment, Yang Yan, who was among the crowd, could no longer stand the silence. After sizing up the area and probing Hongmeng around the pillar, he took the initiative to speak. We have searched for so long and have finally discovered the secret of this stone hall. No matter what, we should not return empty-handed. It seems that the tribe from tens of thousands of years ago left those soul treasures in this pillar. However, there is a protective formation on this pillar. Everyone, look at it. That's right. The power of this formation is enormous, and it's not something that can be broken so easily. Come to think of it, only by following the will of this formation will we be able to obtain the spiritual treasure inside this pillar. What do you mean? Dong Chaoming, who was beside him, did not understand. Yang Yan smiled and said, I have just probed a little. The purpose of the protective formation on this pillar is not to obstruct those who want to obtain the soul treasures, but to test. Test? When he heard this, Dong Chaoming was even more confused. The other people in the stone hall were also stunned by what he said. Yang Yan said, yes, test. The purpose of this formation is to test whether those who approach the pillar have the qualifications to receive the soul treasures and inheritance in this pillar. If the person who accepts the test has the qualifications, the pillar will give that person the corresponding soul treasures and inheritance. If the person does not have the qualifications, the pillar will explode with a huge Hong Meng Chi wave and send those who approach flying. At this point, Yang Yan could not help but smile at Ai Hua. What do you mean? Are you saying that I am not qualified? Ai Hua understood Yang Yan's meaning and was naturally a little cynical. In front of so many people, Ai Hua naturally felt a little apologetic when Yang Yan insinuated that he was not qualified. With regards to Ai Hua's provocation, Yang Yan was not moved at all. He shook his head and said, this is the conclusion I have reached. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. If you don't believe it, just treat it as if I am just casually speaking. There is nothing impossible. Obviously, since Yang Yan dared to speak to Ai Hua like this, it also proved that Yang Yan was not afraid of Ai Hua at all. Looking at Yang Yan's expression, many people in the Stone Palace also believed this statement. However, from the situation where Ai Hua was sent flying by the violent Hong Meng Chi wave, even someone like Ai Hua, who was at the 5th level of Hong Meng Yuan Jia, did not receive the inheritance. Qualifications, let alone them. What were the conditions of this pillar's test? Yang Yan looked at the expressions of the crowd and said again, therefore, this time, whoever obtains the inheritance spiritual treasure of the tribe ruins will be completely dependent on their own strength. There is no competition at all. I will also say here that whoever obtains this pillar will be able to obtain the inheritance spiritual treasure of the tribe ruins. I, Yang Yan, will not interfere too much if the person who obtains the inheritance spiritual treasure successfully obtains it. Let him or her take it away. Now then, is there anyone who is willing to try this symbol again and see if they meet the conditions of this test? Everyone saw that Yang Yan did not have any intention of making the first move. Some people frowned and felt that this place was strange. However, as long as there was the inheritance spiritual treasure, there would be people who could not resist this temptation. However, in this short period of time, it was still necessary to give people some time to react. Otherwise, the scene of Ai Hua being sent flying by the Hong Meng Chi wave was still vivid in their minds. Who would dare to touch this unlucky thing? However, very quickly, there were people who could not resist the temptation of the soul treasure opportunity and immediately walked out from the crowd. This was a level 4 expert from Hong Meng Yuan Jia. He slowly walked to the pillar and nodded at Yang Yan. Then, he walked closer to the pillar. At this time, this Hong Meng Yuan Jia 4th layer expert actually recalled Ai Hua's appearance when he was sent flying, and couldn't help but feel nervous. But very quickly, Shi Yian, who had obtained a numinous treasure, overcame his nervousness. He thought that at worst, he would just suffer some pain, which was nothing. Therefore, the Hong Meng Yuan Jia 4th layer cautiously extended his hand toward the seal. Everyone watched this scene quietly. The stone hall was silent. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website, M. Chapter 1671. Under the expectant gazes of the people in the stone hall, the Hong Meng Yuan Jia's 4th layer expert finally reached out his hand and touched the mysterious seal. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Just when everyone thought that the pillar had passed the test for the Hong Meng Yuan Jia's expert, an extremely oppressive force spread out from the stone hall. At the same time, between the pillar and the fourth layer Hong Meng Yuan Jie's expert, suddenly, a violent wave of primordial aura was condensed from it. Bang! Before anyone could react, the Hong Meng Qi wave exploded and hit the fourth layer Hong Meng Yuan Jie's expert, who was close to the pillar, to the side. Waves of grand mist aura swept across the Great Hall, causing waves of ripples to appear above the Great Hall. The fourth layer Hong Meng Yuan Jie's expert had obviously suffered an even more serious attack than Ai Qing's. Fortunately, this expert had a close friend here, so he immediately rescued him and saved his life. At this time, after 2 lessons, the people in the stone hall who wanted to explore the mysteries of the pillar and seek the spiritual treasure opportunity in the tribal ruins all had thoughts of retreating. Given the choice between life and spiritual treasure opportunity, many people would still choose life. Yang Yan's frown deepened as he sensed the primordial aura wave from before. Clearly, he had expected such a situation to occur. However, it was obvious that he did not expect the pillar's attacks on the Seekers to be stronger each time. Seeing the fourth layer Hong Meng Yuan Jie's expert being blown away by the pillar again, the people who were originally a little complacent gradually stopped talking. No one could be sure that the next time they touched the pillar, they would be exposed by the pillar. What kind of Hong Meng Qi wave was this? Just like this, the stone hall became silent again. Even the experts above the fifth layer Hong Meng Yuan Jie's expert did not have any thoughts of making a move. Longchen pondered for a long time and looked at the pillar for a while. Finally, Longchen made up his mind and took a step toward the pillar. Longchen, who had appeared in front of everyone before, made this move now. Obviously, Longchen had attracted everyone's attention again. Even the experts from the fifth layer Hong Meng Yuan Jia were a little surprised. Longchen was too lazy to make any preparations. It was a matter of luck. No matter how much he delayed, the result would be the same. Longchen took quick steps and almost did not give the crowd time to react. He came to the side of the pillar and reached out his hand to touch the mysterious seal on the pillar. Since it's an inheritance, there will always be a chance. I don't believe that even if I don't pass, this pillar can still kill me, right? Longchen's expression became serious as he secretly encouraged himself. Then, he quickly reached out his hand and directly touched the mysterious seal. Similarly, the stone hall was silent for a moment. In everyone's memory, the next moment, a violent Hong Meng Qi wave would appear. When Longchen's hand touched the mysterious seal, he felt a violent Hong Meng Qi coming from the seal. This Hong Meng Qi was like a sealed Hong Meng demonic beast, waving its claws and teeth with all its might, trying to break through the seal. It wanted to break through the pillar. This aura was like the vast lightning of the great Tao, and it possessed a ferocious and powerful aura. It was like the densest primordial mist in the world, and if one carefully sensed it, one would be able to understand how terrifying this energy was. Whoosh! Within the stone hall, a gust of primordial astral wind whistled as waves of surging primordial energy were emitted from the pillars. Longchen quickly condensed the Hong Meng Qi around his body, trying to block this Hong Meng Qi. Even if he did not have the qualifications to inherit the inheritance, he did not want to be like the previous 2 who were bombarded into such a miserable state by this pillar. However, what Longchen did not expect was that the Hong Meng Qi he condensed was completely swallowed by the Hong Meng Qi the moment it touched the pillar. In other words, the primordial aura within the pillar was much, much stronger than the primordial aura that Longchen had condensed. Feeling his Hong Meng Qi being rapidly swallowed, Longchen's expression changed greatly. He quickly condensed it again. Even if it was completely absorbed by the pillar as soon as it condensed, Longchen did not dare to slack off. After all, if he stopped, he would be sent flying. Just like the previous 2 people, he would be heavily blasted away by the pillar. Longchen, you can't continue like this. The Hong Meng Qi in the pillar is too strange. It is not an ordinary opponent. This Hong Meng Qi is simply endless. If this continues, your Hong Meng Qi will be exhausted, and you will still be blasted away. Quickly condense it. Perhaps the aura of the Ice Dragon's origin Ice Soul can temporarily suppress this strange pillar. At this time, Longmu also hurriedly reminded Longchen. After all, based on Long Chen's situation, all of the Hong Meng Qi would soon be swallowed by the pillar. Long Chen's eyes focused. He did not dare to delay. Immediately, he divided a part of his attention. While the Hong Meng Qi was still around, he immediately awakened the 9 ice dragons in his body. Then, without thinking, he emitted the Qi of the ice soul origin from the ice dragons. Sigh. Huff. When the two forces intersected, Long Chen naturally felt the chill of the ice soul origin. At the same time, what surprised Long Chen was that this chill was actually mixed with the Qi of the ice spirit ghost wolf's bloodline. This time, what surprised Long Chen, or perhaps everyone in the stone hall, was that the Hong Meng Qi around the pillar actually quietly dissipated when Long Chen condensed the chill. Swoosh! The two forces began to intersect around the pillar. From the initial collision, it gradually became friction. In the end, they actually merged with each other. The fusion of these two forces immediately piqued the curiosity of everyone in the stone hall. At this time, Long Chen finally understood. It turned out that the condition for the pillar to accept the inheritance was the bloodline power of the ice spirit ghost wolf. Only when the tester was able to display the bloodline power to the mysterious seal on the pillar, would the seal then acknowledge the tester and proceed to the next step. Bestowing the inheritance, spiritual treasure opportunity. Without a doubt, Long Chen's move shocked everyone. In the stone hall, everyone looked at Long Chen's unscathed appearance. After the initial shock, they slowly regained their senses. Could it be that this Hong Meng consolidation stage Long Chen was actually acknowledged by the pillar? If that was the case, wouldn't Long Chen be able to obtain the inheritance of this tribal site? Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1672. With this thought in mind, the people on the 5th floor of the Hong Meng Yuan Jia first looked at each other. Then, they decided on their target and extended their palms towards the pillar. Come to think of it, since the pillar did not produce a wave of Hong Meng Qi like before after Long Chen touched the mysterious seal, it meant that the pillar would definitely do something related to the inheritance. Therefore, these people anxiously extended their palms towards the pillar, hoping to rub off on Long Chen's luck. Long Chen, who had placed most of his attention on confronting the Hong Meng pillar, naturally did not notice the actions of these people. After the Hong Meng waves emitted by the pillar disappeared, Long Chen's mind suddenly underwent a huge shift. Very quickly, Long Chen felt as if he had been moved by someone in the blink of an eye. When he regained his consciousness, Long Chen felt as if he had been moved. When he regained his consciousness, he realized that he had arrived in another world. Long Chen reacted slightly. Thinking about it, this space should be the space inside the pillar. Perhaps he could really obtain the inheritance of the pillar here. In an instant, a wave of Hong Meng waves suddenly appeared in this space. Following that, Long Chen's mind was greatly blinded. Then, an ancient picture scroll appeared in front of Long Chen's eyes. The first thing that came into view was a stone tablet. When Long Chen saw the stone tablet, he immediately realized that it was the stone tablet that he and Wang Yuan had seen when they first entered the tribe's ruins. The words on the stone tablet were unclear about the meaning of the words on it. At this time, for some reason, when Long Chen saw the 4 words on the stone tablet again, he suddenly reacted and recognized the 4 people on the stone tablet. White Nether Tribe. Although he did not know why he had the ability to recognize these words, Long Chen was not curious about it. After all, what he was most curious about was this mysterious space. Just by touching the mysterious seal, he was able to connect his mind to this place. The array on the pillar was indeed powerful. After the stone tablet appeared, a few more images appeared on the picture scroll. Long Chen saw the former prosperity of the tribe. The people of the tribe once again lived and worked in peace and contentment. Their long hair flowed freely, and they were happy. Numerous houses and majestic halls appeared on the picture scroll one by one. After that, an old man with white hair appeared in the middle of the picture scroll. The old man's figure was somewhat frail. It seemed that he had suffered some injuries. At this time, the old man was standing in the stone hall, and behind him was the mysterious pillar. The old man was silent for a few moments. Then, his body began to move strangely. Every step he took gave off a strange feeling. As his figure changed, it was as if he was neither close nor far, as if he was not related to the stone hall. Before Long Chen could react, Long Mu was anxious. He hurriedly reminded, "Long Chen, this is a Hong Meng movement technique. Quickly memorize it." After Long Mu's words, Long Chen looked at the old man's figure again. He indeed felt that although the old man's movements were a little illogical, every step he took and every change in his steps had a certain pattern. A certain pattern. Long Chen hurriedly focused his mind and wanted to copy the old man's movement technique. The old man's movement technique moved. From time to time, the picture scroll would emit a faint Hong Meng fluctuation. Immediately, it filled the mysterious space, forming waves after waves of Hong Meng ripples. This movement technique seemed gentle, but in fact, every time the old man released a Hong Meng fluctuation, it was filled with a huge amount of strength. It was just that he did not release this strength. Long Chen estimated that if the old man wanted to release this strength, the strength that he could release would be stronger than Long Chen's current full-strength attack. Long Chen followed the old man's figure meticulously. He roughly memorized some of the patterns of this movement technique. The old man's movement technique had also reached the end. Then, when the old man's figure stopped, he threw out a seemingly casual punch. This punch was made up of all the remaining strength in his body after he leaped. Logically speaking, it should be filled with a huge amount of strength. However, this old man was actually so calm and relaxed, as if this punch was just an ordinary punch. It was just an ordinary posture. Boom! It was this seemingly ordinary punch, but after it was unleashed, it directly caused waves of violet primordial aura to roll out from the stone hall. It was like a primordial beast that had awakened from its seal, directly materializing its entire body. The strength exploded in this space. When the punch landed, even Long Chen was pierced by the wind from the punch. He faintly felt some pain. And this space also began to dissipate after the wind from the punch. The picture scroll also gradually turned from clear to blurry. Before Long Chen could react, the old man in the picture scroll once again threw out an ordinary palm. Bang! This palm also contained a huge amount of strength. As the wind from the palm was biting cold, it actually completely cancelled out the Hong Meng Chi waves from the previous fist technique. Not a single bit was left. This miraculous movement technique, as well as the final punch and palm, were clearly not ordinary techniques. It was also at this moment that the picture scroll emitted a final ray of light. The inheritance of the white underworld, its meaning is endless. It moves the heavens, the ice spirit obtains it. These words were emitted from the picture scroll. Then, the mysterious picture scroll disappeared. After the picture scroll disappeared, this mysterious space also gradually collapsed. Long Chen's mind also gradually returned to the outside world. At this moment, Long Chen's palm was still on the seal. As his mind recovered, Long Chen also felt that the Hong Meng from this mysterious seal was also gradually dissipating. Could it be that I really obtained the inheritance of the white underworld tribe? Long Chen's heart was filled with joy. Suddenly, his eyes became bright. It was also at this moment that a dense mass of Hong Meng Chi jumped out from the surroundings of the pillar. Seeing this mass of Hong Meng Chi, Long Chen was also curious. He immediately extended his other hand towards this mass of Hong Meng Chi. Crack! The moment Long Chen extended his hand, Long Chen suddenly felt a different aura around him. After sensing it with his mind, Long Chen realized that there were 5 people behind him. These 5 people were the 5 people from the 5th level of the Hong Meng Yuan Jie. Now, it was obvious that they were here to take advantage of Long Chen. After the 5 of them appeared, they looked into the distance. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.